Chapter 1077. Without any deviation, the direction was precisely in his direction. When Xiao Chun saw the appearance of that group of people, his expression changed slightly. The leader was Ba Tu, whom he had met once before. The ones fleeing in sorry states were the descendants of the Black Sea's great bandits. Chasing them were 2 or 3 small perfection loose cultivators of the blue-robed emperor level. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chun decided to help. "Little Yellow Feather, I'll leave it to you." Little Yellow Feather spread its wings and flew out of the immortal spirit ring. When it saw the group of people Xiao Chun pointed at, it flew over at lightning speed. Then, it opened its mouth and spat out 10 suns shining together. Immediately, 10 clumps of fiery light comparable to the sun appeared in the sky, radiating an overwhelming heat wave. The seawater instantly evaporated, creating a boundless mist that turned everything hazy. Before the few small perfection blue-robed emperors in pursuit could react, they saw the 10 suns descend, encasing the area. There was nowhere to run to. The 10 suns shining together could melt even Xiao Chen's blue dragon battle armor. How could this group of small perfection blue-robed emperors deal with it? Before these small perfection blue-robed emperors could even scream, they were burned to ashes. This scene dumbfounded Ba Tu's group. As they looked at Little Yellow Feather in the sky, they were horrified. "Big brother, this divine bird seems to have a master. Could it be that it has taken a fancy to our treasure? Let's quickly run." Ba Tu, who was carrying an ancient corpse, showed an uncertain expression. He said, "Its pet is already so powerful. We definitely cannot run. Let's go and take a look." Feeling nervous, the group followed Little Yellow Feather as they walked on the surface of the sea. After executing 10 suns shining together, Little Yellow Feather was clearly much weaker. When it landed before Xiao Chun, he took out astral cores and fed them to the little fellow. Ba Tu and the others walked carefully. When they saw this scene, they could not even process what was going on. The master of the divine bird was actually the Azure Dragon King Xiao Chun, who had caused a huge commotion. Ba Tu laughed loudly and quickly stepped forward. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks to Brother Xiao Chun for helping out. It looks like Brother still remembers our fated meeting." Xiao Chun curiously sized up the corpse Ba Tu was carrying. Then he said softly, "It was nothing much. Brother Ba Tu is too polite. That was nothing much, but you saved the lives of us brothers. There is no need to be polite." Xiao Chun smiled and asked, "Did the few of you come out from the road that buried emperors?" Ba Tu nodded and said with a wretched expression, "Yes, I got a corpse in the 4th ring. I really didn't dare to go any further, so I came out." Who would have thought that he would be targeted by a few loose cultivators and end up in such a sorry state? It's like a tiger being bullied by a dog when it's down. If they were in the Black Sea, they wouldn't even dare to make a move. After Chen Xiao Chun introduced to the group of brothers. Chen greeted them without any pride. Without the Ba spirit Chen, Li Tu, Chen, Yuan of Chen of brothers. "Brother Ba Tu, what's the situation with the Emperor Burial Heart?" "Brother Ba Tu, it seems like that group of outstanding talents are not satisfied with the 4th ring and want to continue forward." Fear flashed in Ba Tu's eyes as he said, "Right now, of the 4 major characters that went together, only Zong Buxiong made it to the heart of the ocean. The 3 great fiends of the fiend race all died on the Black Flame Emperor's path. Those outstanding talents are still continuing forward. They all have astonishing harvests. As long as they can return alive, I believe that there will be many young blue-robed emperors at the 4 Seas Hero Gathering 1 year from now." Another person interjected, "The one with the greatest harvest is definitely Zong Buxiong. As long as that fellow can make it out, he will definitely be conferred king. The Black Flame Emperor is probably going to change. We have to return quickly and tell the elders about this." Ba Tu nodded and said, "Zong Buxiong is very ambitious. We have to return quickly. We cannot chat any longer. In the future, when Brother Xiao Chun goes to the Black Flame Emperor, we will definitely receive him properly." After a pause, Ba Tu removed the jade strip hanging from the corpse's neck. He said, "There is nothing to repay. Just take this jade strip as a small gift." This corpse is a sovereign martial emperor from the ancient era. Unfortunately, he did not make it back alive when he was conferred king, falling along the way. This jade strip should be pretty good. Xiaochen received the jade strip and performed a cupped fist salute. Goodbye. I'm leaving. Brother Xiaochen, remember to make a trip to the Black Flame Emperor's Black Flame Emperor. The descendants of this group of lawless bandits were very forthright, not putting on airs at all, leaving as they pleased. Xiaochen mulled over Batu's words. The three great fiends died on the way. Only Zhong Buxiong made it to the heart of the ocean alone. The emperor's path truly lived up to its name. It was indeed true. Zhong Buxiong, the major character that warned Xiaochen back then. Could it be that Xiaochen had some karma with him? At this moment, Xiaochen would never guess that Zhong Buxiong only wanted to leave an opponent for his adopted son, not letting him die at the hands of others. Karma was very mysterious. When Xiaochen met Zhong Buxiong's adopted son more than a year later in the Black Flame Emperor's Black Flame Emperor, his expression turned extremely complicated. Xiaochen, where are we going now? Are we still going to the Northern Sea Alliance? Ao Jiao asked. Naturally we are going. However, it was just that Xiaochen's original idea of finding a backer was something he could do without. Previously, Xiaochen's fame spread far and wide, and his future was boundless. Now, he advanced to Martial Emperor in 5 years, his fate unknown. The words of the Divine Dragon Palace's old man were not pleasant to the ears, but that was what most people thought. Since there was no value in befriending him, why would the other party make a large group of strong enemies for Xiaochen? Perhaps Yichen would not think this way. However, Xiaochen had seen too much of the ways of the world. He had understood this many years ago. Yichen could not make decisions for the Northern Sea Alliance, which was a huge faction. Now that Xiaochen was going to the Northern Sea Alliance, he simply wanted to meet this friend and thank him for the congratulatory gift at the king conferral ceremony. Where should we go after that? Ao Jiao asked. When Xiaochen heard that, he felt stunned. Indeed, where could he go after that? How could he find a way to advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years? Should he go and seek out the Haotian Martial Emperor or the Prime, the Thunder King? However, he could not bring himself to meet these two primes, who placed so much importance on him and gave him such great help. However, he ended up in such a state. How could he find the other party again? The vast sea stretched as far as the eye could see. The sky was high, and the sea was wide. However, Xiaochen felt an emptiness of having nowhere to go despite the vastness of the world. When Ao Jiao saw this, her heart suddenly ached for no reason. Blue Dragon King. The 3 dazzling words brought pressure and restrictions. Those who could only see the Blue Dragon King's dazzling appearance would never understand it. If not for his title as the Qing Emperor's descendant, Xiaochen would definitely be able to live much more easily. He would not have to work so hard, shouldering everything by himself. Xiaochen collected his thoughts. Then, he remembered that he still had the jade strip that Batu gave him. He wondered what kind of treasure it was. An ancient cultivator who could come out of the heart of the ocean was definitely not simple. Batu did not even bother to look at it as a gift, not afraid of suffering a loss. After fiddling with it for a while, Xiaochen sent in his spiritual sense. After a while, he revealed an extremely surprised expression. What's wrong? Ao Jiao asked curiously when she saw Xiaochen's expression. Take a look for yourself. Ao Jiao flew out and received the jade strip. After checking it for a while, a smile of indescribable pleasant surprise appeared in her eyes. The dragon's seeking art. This is an ancient secret technique that can only be passed down to one person. To think that you managed to obtain it. Naturally, the dragon-seeking art was not about finding a true dragon. It was a secret technique for finding spirit veins based on the geography of the mountains, the geography of the astral palace, and geomancy. In ancient times, spirit veins were commonly known as earth dragons. Furthermore, they were mostly dragon-shaped. The name dragon-seeking art was not inappropriate. In ancient times, there were also people who specialized in dragon-seeking art. They were known as geomasters and held high statuses, even higher than blacksmiths and alchemists. Dragons are hidden in the depths. The sea hides dragons. In the vast sea, There are many more spirit veins than in the Kunlun continent. This dragon-seeking art will definitely be able to display its prowess in the heavenly starry ocean. Right now, what you lack is spirit veins. This jade strip is really tailor-made for you. Ao Jiao's tone was filled with excitement. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and tightly grasped the jade strip with his right hand. Everything was understood without words. If Xiao Chun followed the usual routine, he would need at least 4 years to cultivate the blue-robed emperor to small perfection. Another 4 years to cultivate the blue-robed emperor to great perfection. Given Xiao Chen's comprehension ability, he would need less time to cultivate a soul for the heavenly seal. Xiao Chen's greatest obstacle in advancing to martial emperor was being stuck at small perfection and great perfection of the blue-robed emperor. If he really spent 8 years, it would be too late. However, now that he had the dragon-seeking art, as long as he could obtain sufficient resources, everything would not be a problem. The only thing he had to worry about was the great tribulation of wind and fire after he reached peak consummation. This stunned Xiao Chun. Then he revealed a grave expression. He waved his hand, and a small silver boat appeared. This was the secret treasure that he obtained in the Sky Dome realm. At this point, the grade of this secret treasure was no longer worthy of his discerning eyes. However, people tended to be nostalgic. After arriving in the Kunlun realm, Xiao Chun had taken some time out to repair this boat. Now, for the sake of not attracting attention, this secret treasure was perfect. Ao Jiao, you will control the boat. Help me sail it to the northern sea. I want to enter closed-door cultivation and focus all my energy on this dragon-seeking art. Ao Jiao rejoiced in her heart. She finally saw some hope. She smiled and said, "Roger that. Just enter closed-door cultivation in peace. Leave the rest to Little Yellow Feather and me." Xiao Chun nodded and did not say anything more. He entered the recuperation room on the boat and sank his consciousness into the dragon-seeking art. The dragon-seeking art was just a general name for such a secret technique. It was similar to alchemy and blacksmithing. There were many different secret techniques. For example, the Book of Heavenly Works in Mo Chen's hand was the divine canon of blacksmithing, a supreme existence. The dragon-seeking art hidden in this jade strip was called the Paradise Secret Canon. Paradise had the meaning of seeing through the mysteries of heaven. Just based on the name, one could guess that the Paradise Secret Canon was an extremely high-ranked secret canon among the many types of dragon-seeking arts. The Paradise Secret Canon was split into 3 parts. The first part was the most complicated, like a general outline. It introduced the situation of the clan of the owner of the Jade Strip, as well as the glory of their clan in the ancient era. It recorded the origin of the dragon-seeking art and the various branches of the Geomasters. It was very detailed and complicated. Xiao Chun felt a headache when he read it. Since it did not involve true cultivation, he only paid attention to the first part and skimmed through the rest, getting a general idea. The owner of the Jade Strip was called Yuan Qin. He was the sole descendant of the Yuan clan. After he died, the inheritance ended. During the ancient era, the Yuan clan was very famous, holding a high position among the Geomasters. The inheritors of the clan were all known as the Great Heavenly Master. However, this clan did not care about fame and fortune. They did not accept the invitations of the various large clans. They always acted alone, which resulted in very few people knowing about them. Chapter 1078. There was a long introduction at the end, so Xiao Chun skipped over it and looked at the second part of the Jade Strip, the Paradise Secret Canon's cultivation method. The second part was divided into 4 parts. The first part was the Heavenly Eye. Open the Heavenly Eye, seek dragons and fix veins, see through the mysteries of heaven. The Yuan clan's dragon-seeking secret arts all used the Heavenly Eye as the foundation. Without cultivating the Heavenly Eye, seeking dragons and fixing veins would be impossible. The mysterious hand can steal the work of the heavens and fight for good fortune. The second aspect was the ingenuity of surpassing nature. Even after cultivating the Heavenly Eye, one could not truly seek dragons and fix veins. One would need to rely on the dragon-seeking secret treasures of the Yuan clan. The Yuan family had a total of 3 dragon-seeking treasures, which were the dragon beheading platform, the dragon revealing mirror, and the dragon-fixing needle. In this section, the refining methods and materials of the 3 dragon-seeking secret treasures were introduced in detail, as well as the main points of attention. The Tao is boundless and ever-changing. The heavens say that it is unfathomable, but it can be measured, thought about, and imagined. The 3rd section was the 100 changes of heavenly secrets. The content of this section was the most complicated, but also the most important. It introduced over 10,000 different terrains, stars, and geomancy in detail. It was detailed, profound, and complicated. Ordinary people would not be able to understand it at all. Even if they could understand it, they might not be able to immerse themselves in it. With a plan in mind, I will capture the dragon with a wave of my hand. The 4th segment was prison drawing. It mainly explained how to trap spirit veins and how to use the dragon-fixing needles to form all sorts of formations. There were 3,000 types of formations of various sizes used to trap different spirit veins. Fighting with others, fighting with the heavens, is boundless joy. The 5th stanza was about the trapped dragon ascending to heaven. Its content gave Shao Qin a fright. When a grand heaven master reached a certain level, he would be able to break free from the shackles of heaven and earth. It could fight against the heavens, create dragons with manpower, and nurture spirit veins. The spirit fountain was nurtured by the heaven and earth, and would never be destroyed. However, the Yuan family actually wanted to create their own spirit fountain and fight against the heaven. No wonder the Yuan family had lost their inheritance. Fighting against the heavens, how could they have a good ending? As for the 3rd part of the jade slip, it was completely blank. There was nothing at all, causing one to feel suspicious. Shao Qin guessed that there should be some kind of concealment technique. Without cultivating the Paradise Secret canon to a certain level, one would not be able to see its contents. Withdrawing his spiritual sense from the jade strip, Shao Qin had a complicated look on his face. The dragon-seeking art was not something that could be learned overnight. His previous thoughts were too simple. It was too early for him to be happy. No matter what, I have to learn this Paradise Secret canon. His right hand trembled as he gripped the jade slip tightly. Shao Qin's eyes were filled with determination. Throughout his life, he had never liked to ask for favors, nor did he like to owe favors. It was rare that God had given him a chance to stop bothering the Haotian Emperor and the Thunder King. He would not give up no matter what. No matter how difficult it was, he would not give up. The cultivation technique of the Paradise Secret canon had a total of 4 segments. The 5th segment was just a supplement. It was like a forbidden technique, making one's hair stand on end. What kind of existence dared to say that fighting against the heavens was an endless joy? Although the path of cultivation was heaven-defying and also fighting against the heavens, most cultivators respected the heavens. However, most of the cultivators were filled with reverence. They were cautious with every step they took. No one dared to say such disgraceful words. Paradise Secret canon. Shao Qin felt curious. He really wanted to know what kind of person the ancestor of the Yuan clan was. He had to go to the Black Sea. If there was an opportunity, he had to find Ba Tu and see that corpse. When Shao Qin calmed down, he started to carefully study the cultivation technique of the heavenly eye. One had to take things step by step. Even if one was anxious, one could not mess up the steps. Shao Qin understood this principle. The heavenly eye was extremely profound. When one opened it, one could see a brand new world. When cultivated to an extremely profound level, one could see through the mysteries of heaven. This was not a lie. There were many levels to it. The Geomasters of the Yuan clan were known as Great Heavenly Masters mostly because of the heavenly eye. Normally speaking, the level of the heavenly eye determined the Great Heavenly Master's ability to seek dragons and fix veins. Otherwise, no matter what kind of schemes one had, one would be helpless when facing a high-ranked spirit vein. After studying the cultivation technique of the heavenly eye to the point that he was thoroughly familiar with it, Shao Qin decided to open the heavenly eye. The process of opening the heavenly eye was not difficult. However, it was very complicated. One needed to use a special liquid to wash the eyes. Every day, when the sun rose, one had to look into the distance and absorb the purple qi. After doing this for half a month, One had to circulate their energy and open up 1,000 tiny meridians in the eyes. Then, one could formally open the heavenly eye, opening a vertical eye on the forehead. Naturally, Shaochen did not have the liquid. However, there was the refining method and the required materials. After looking at it for a while, Shaochen found that it was not too troublesome. It was just that the formula was rather unique. After finding the nearest island on the sea chart, Shaochen successfully bought the required materials. After familiarizing himself with it a few times, he succeeded in refining the heavenly eye. Every day, when Shaochen dripped the liquid into his eyes, he would feel an indescribable numbness and pain. It was like countless bugs had entered his eyes, causing him so much pain that he wished he were dead. Just like the jade strip said, there were no accidents. Shaochen did not stop, relying on his willpower to endure this inhumane torture. This made Ao Jiao's heart ache. At first, Little Yellow Feather was curious and clamped down, wanting to give it a try. In the end, after trying it once, it cried out in pain for an entire day. After that, when Little Yellow Feather looked at Shaochen, a rare reverence appeared in its eyes. Its mischievous attitude from before faded significantly. At the same time, Shaochen would sit at the bow of the warship every day, waiting for the sun to rise in the east. At first, he did not see any purple qi. However, as he persisted day after day, using the special liquid to wash his eyes, Shaochen finally saw the so-called purple qi. It was a majestic and surging scene. A hazy purple qi filled the sky, allowing one to truly feel the rising luck of this world. After persisting for half a month, Shaochen carried out the final step of opening his eyes, opening up the thousands of tiny meridians connecting his eyeballs. After carefully completing this final step, a crack appeared on Shaochen's forehead and a vertical eye appeared. It gave off a strange purple light, and the world before his eyes suddenly changed. The vast sea actually turned transparent before his eyes. He could clearly see the topography of the seabed, the swimming fishes, prawns, and spirit beasts. The air was no longer empty. Instead, it was a combination of all sorts of gases of various colors. Aside from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, there were many other gases. Shaochen could see the direction of the wind and the movement of the clouds. The entire world seemed to be moving rapidly. A painful sensation came, and Shaochen quickly closed his eyes. The vertical eye closed, leaving behind only a faint blood stain. After wiping away the blood stain, Shaochen revealed an expression of joy. Blood was definitely present when opening the heavenly eye. He knew that he had succeeded. In the future, as his cultivation of the Paradise Secret Canon deepened, the level of his heavenly eye would continue to improve. This was just the beginning. How is it? Did you succeed? Ao Jiao asked urgently as she ran over with Little Yellow Feather. Shaochen nodded, and Ao Jiao immediately revealed a joyful smile, feeling very happy for Shaochen. However, this is just the first step. I still have to refine the dragon-seeking secret treasure and familiarize myself with the 100 changes of heavenly mysteries and the thousands of topography. Ao Jiao smiled and said, "There's no rush. As long as there was hope, it was fine. As long as Shaochen learned this Paradise Secret Canon, he might be able to advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years. After all, the dragon-seeking art was a clan's secret technique. It was passed down to males and not females. It was only passed down within a Geomaster's clan. No strong faction, even an immortal Holy Land, could obtain any dragon-seeking art. Furthermore, Shaochen's Paradise Secret Canon was clearly much more profound than the existing dragon-seeking arts. Great heavenly masters were existences that only existed during the ancient era. Following that, Shaochen docked the warship and purchased some materials. Then he started to refine the dragon-seeking secret treasure, the dragon-fixing needle. The dragon-fixing needle was a one-time consumable. It was the secret treasure that the great heavenly masters used the most and required a lot of preparation. The dragon-revealing mirror and the dragon-subduing platform were rather troublesome to refine. Furthermore, he could not be careless with the materials. He would not be able to find top-quality materials on any random island. He would have to wait for a large-scale auction. Shaochen did not intend to refine them immediately. Furthermore, with the dragon-fixing needle, he could deal with most spirit veins. He only needed the dragon-revealing mirror for spirit veins that were sage grade or higher. As for the dragon-subduing platform, it was used to deal with mutated ancient spirit veins. 3 days later, the first dragon-fixing needle was refined in the Dragon Phoenix Cauldron. It was a palm-sized black needle. It was very sharp, and its tip flickered with a cold light. The dragon-fixing needle did not require a lot of divine materials. However, there were many kinds, at least 100 of them. Furthermore, the amount of each one was specified. Even if there were more or less, it would not be able to achieve the effect of stabilizing a spirit vein. This was a secret treasure unique to the Yuan clan. According to the introduction of exquisite workmanship, the quality of the dragon-fixing needle could be improved. However, it required a more complicated refinement process. The result would be a golden needle, which would be more effective. However, unless one ran into a situation that could not be dealt with, one black dragon-fixing needle would suffice. Xiao Qin experimented a few times, but the chances of success were too low. So he stopped after refining 100. Then he frantically refined the black dragon-fixing needles. He only stopped after refining 10,000. That would be sufficient for a long time. Xiao Qin spent the remaining days on the most complicated part of the Paradise Secret Canon, the 100 changes of heavenly mysteries. He had to start from scratch on the various aspects of geography, constellations, and geomancy. He had to spend a lot of time to study them. On this particular day, the warship arrived at the Northern Sea. Xiao Qin came out of the warship's hold for a breath of fresh air, which was a rare occurrence. As he looked at the calm sea, he felt excited. He opened his heavenly eye and carefully observed. Xiao Qin prepared for an actual combat, to see if his recent bitter study of geography and geomancy was effective. The seawater was transparent, and he could see the topography of the seabed. A bookworm would not be successful. If he could not apply what he learned, even if he memorized the contents of the third section, it would be useless. As Xiao Qin looked at the shape and power of the seabed, he recalled what he had learned in the 100 changes of heavenly mysteries over the past few days. Then he quickly made a judgment. That's not right. This is poor land. The dragon's mouth is not locked, and qi is not condensed. It flows with the water, formless and powerless. That's not right either. The surroundings do not respond. The mountains do not wrap around it, and the water does not flow around it. It flows straight to the heart of the heavens. There cannot be a spirit vein. Xiao Qin, who was traveling with the warship, vetoed many places. Suddenly, he narrowed his eyes and stared at the topography of the seabed. Then he got Ao Jiao to stop the warship. That was a seabed vein. To the north, there were endless mountain ranges. To the south, there were 3 small hills that echoed each other. There were 2 mountains on the left and right, heavily guarded. Chapter 1079. The layout in the middle was clear, and the terrain was spacious. There were also many large trees at the bottom of the sea surrounding it. The mountains rose and fell, high and low, twisting and turning like they were alive. The dragon's mouth in the center was locked by trees. Mountains and waters surrounded it, guarding it. This was definitely a treasure land with spirit veins. There were many spirit veins in the heavenly starry ocean. However, most of them were hidden at the bottom of the sea. Unless something strange happened underground and they leaked out, one could only rely on a geomaster to use the dragon-seeking art to find them. Regular cultivators did not understand the geography of earth veins. Even if one walked past a place with a spirit vein, one would not discover anything. Xiao Qin held the 5 dragon-fixing needles with his right hand. He felt slightly nervous. This was his first time making a move. If he made a mistake, it would be a huge blow to him. Whether Xiao Qin had the talent to learn the dragon-seeking art or not, this unknown treasure land before him would give him the answer. Was it right or wrong? Holding the dragon-fixing needles, Xiao Qin leaped out and dove into the sea. Then, he arrived at the dragon cave, surrounded by many trees. When Xiao Qin got closer, he discovered that the so-called tree locking the dragon was just something he saw from afar. When Xiao Qin truly walked at the bottom of the sea, The hundreds of underwater trees were very far apart and sparse. Ordinary people would find it hard to connect them to a dragon cave. When Xiao Chen got closer, he carefully touched the trunk of the tree. It was not a spirit tree, just an ordinary sea tree. Xiao Chen had already closed his heavenly eye. He looked into the distance in the seawater. To the south, there was a continuous chain of mountains, looking like a ferocious beast coiled in the sea. Then he looked to the north. There were many low mountains and small mounds surrounding them, heavily guarding them. As Xiao Chen stood at the dragon cave in the center, he closed his eyes and carefully sensed the undetectable currents in the seawater. Most of the time, the direction of the currents in the deep sea was quiet. However, if this was really a dragon cave with a spirit vein, the direction of the water would definitely be different from other places. Invisibly, Xiao Chen sensed that the water 1 kilometer away was flowing from left to right in an extremely slow and indiscernible manner. There was no mistake. Trees locking the dragon, flowing water surrounding it. To the north, there were small mounds protecting the dragon, layered over each other. To the south, there were ferocious beasts with ferocious fangs and bloody jaws. The ground beneath his feet was definitely a dragon cave, a spirit vein hidden within. Xiao Chen stomped his foot on the ground. Rumbling sounds could be heard, and cracks appeared in the ground. Countless bubbles rose up. Kacha kacha. Xiao Chen's stomp seemed to have broken some sort of balance. The speed at which the crack descended was astonishing. Soon, it was a kilometer deep. With a bang, the ground split apart in an instant. The water that was originally difficult to detect and was only moving at a weak speed slowly turned into a stream of water. It spun frantically at an extremely fast speed. A smile appeared on Xiao Chen's tense face. He was right to win the first battle, but now was not the time to relax. Seeking dragons and fixing veins was not as simple as that. Hoochie hoochie. The earth's crust trembled, and the hills in the north were uprooted by the mighty force of nature. One after another, small mountains with the force of 1,000,000 caddies slammed toward Xiao Chen. This was the dragon's guard. Anyone who touched the dragon's cave had to pass through it. Otherwise, not only would one not obtain the spirit vein, but the spirit vein might even devour one's life. In the fourth segment of the Paradise Secret Canon, Earth Prison, there were all sorts of secret techniques that could use the power of mountains and rivers to easily resolve this tribulation with a wave of one's hand. Xiao Chen had not reached that level yet, so he could only use force to suppress it. Looking at the small mountains rushing over in the water, Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and blocked one of them. As the small mountains danced around, they crashed into some of the other small mountains. Rubble flew everywhere. Even with the seawater as a buffer, they still created many large pits at the bottom of the sea. Roar! A ferocious beast broke out of the ground in the mountains to the south. It was a 300-meter-long snake as thick as a calf. The snake glared as it charged over with a surging aura. In the end, when it saw Xiao Chen, it trembled in fright and turned to retreat. This snake was only as strong as a Grandmaster-level martial sage. When Xiao Chen saw this snake's strength, he was already certain. The spirit vein hidden in the dragon cave would not surpass a superior-grade spirit vein. However, that did not matter. Even if he tried it out, he would not gain anything. He did not have to worry about the spirit vein being of low quality. All he had to do was prove that Xiao Chen had the talent to seek dragons and fix veins. Buzz! 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 Cracks appeared in the ground, spreading to the north. It seemed like something underground was moving. Xiao Chen's expression turned cold. Hiding your head but showing your tail. How long are you going to hide? The 5 dragon-fixing needles in Xiao Chen's hand shot out, moving quickly and disappearing in a flash. Mournful wails came from the bottom of the sea. The seawater surged, and huge waves surged 10,000 meters above. The small silver boat drifted with the waves. Ao Jiao, who was at the bow, revealed a joyful expression. One did not fear strong winds and waves, one feared nothing. The cracks stopped spreading. Xiao Chen walked calmly in the water. When he arrived at the end of the crack, he kicked the ground a few more times. In the end, he was still not skilled enough. If he could learn even half a move of the 4th segment of the Earth Prison, he would not have ended up in such an ugly state. He could use the power of the mountains and rivers to make the ground rise and crack. Right now, his cultivation was not there yet, so he could only use brute force. When the bottom of the sea exploded, a green roaming dragon was pinned to the ground by the 5 dragon-fixing needles, unable to move. My luck is pretty good. A high-ranked spirit vein. I can mine medial-grade spirit stones in the surrounding spirit stone mines. There is also a chance of superior-grade spirit stones appearing. Xiao Chen smiled faintly as he sized up the spirit vein below. In the Sky Dome realm, it was worth cities. However, in the Kunlun realm, it was not worth mentioning. At the very least, at Xiao Chen's level, it was not worth mentioning. The 5 dragon-fixing needles slowly melted, and the green roaming dragon turned into a clump of spirit veins origin. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and directly absorbed it. The surging spiritual energy of heaven and earth was like a river flowing through his body with great momentum. However, when the spiritual energy reached the dantian and the silhouette of the dragon-shaped heavenly seal, it was like a river facing the sea, silently drowning out the spiritual energy. The terrain of the earth vein was destroyed. After Xiao Chen absorbed this spirit vein, he sized up his surroundings. Then he shot out of the sea like an arrow leaving a bow. Ao Jiao, who had been waiting for a long time, quickly asked, "How was it?" "One high-ranked spirit vein," Xiao Chen said softly when he landed on the warship's bow. Ao Jiao said excitedly, "Not bad, not bad. Really not bad." In the entire Kunlun continent, all the spirit veins that can be found with one glance are already occupied by the various major factions, not leaving a single one behind. Originally, if you wanted to obtain resources, you could only rob those holy lands. Now that you have the dragon-seeking art, not only do you not need to beg others, but there will probably be people lining up to beg you. The importance of spirit veins to sects went without saying. Any strong geomaster would be an honored guest of a holy land, receiving the highest treatment. Ao Jiao was right. However, Xiao Chen was still far from it. After all, Xiao Chen had just learned this Dao. Compared to some of the veteran geomaster clans, there was still a huge gap. "Oh, right, we have already entered the Northern Sea. Should we go directly to the headquarters of the Northern Sea Alliance?" The Northern Sea Alliance was a community of interests formed by many factions, somewhat similar to the Bushin Palace. However, in terms of accumulations and strength, they were much weaker than the Bushin Palace. The current alliance chief of the Northern Sea Alliance was Yi Chen's father. If there were no surprises, Yi Chen should be in the alliance headquarters. Xiao Chen took out a sea chart and checked it. Then he said, "Let's go to the Cloud Treasure Sea Market first. That is the largest sea market in the Northern Sea. Let's see if I can buy the materials there to refine the dragon-subduing platform and dragon-revealing mirror." These 2 dragon-seeking secret treasures required many divine materials, at least 100 of them. Each would require at least 5 tons of each. Just the materials alone were astronomical. If not for having more than 40 million black astral coins and being filthy rich, Xiao Chen would not have been able to bear to refine them. Ao Jiao nodded obediently and received the sea chart. Then, she smiled and pushed Xiao Chen into the ship's hold, telling him to focus on cultivating the Paradise secret cannon. Xiao Chen and Little Yellow Feather could handle the matters of the ship and the ferocious beasts they would meet in the sea. After traveling for 10 days, the silhouette of the Cloud Treasure Sea Market could already be seen in the distance. It was the same as the 10,000 Treasure Sea Market, built around a gigantic immortal statue towering in the sea. From a distance, this immortal looked different from the immortals in the 10,000 Treasure Sea Market. However, its expression and hand seals were almost the same. As it looked at the distant starry heavens, there was a trace of heavy helplessness in its rage and sorrow. With his previous experience, Xiao Chen knew that the peak of this place was naturally the Cloud Treasure City in the palm of that immortal statue. Not wanting to attract attention, Xiao Chen withdrew his aura and followed the crowd into the city. After asking around, Xiao Chen learned that there was a branch of the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association in Cloud Treasure City. Furthermore, it was one of the top 3 branches. The person in charge was the 3rd City Lord. As the largest sea market in the Northern Sea, the prosperity of Cloud Treasure City went without saying. To be able to enter Cloud Treasure City, one needed to be a superior-grade martial sage at the very least. The threshold was already very high. The endless stream of people on the streets was the best proof of this bustling city. According to rumor, all the immortal statues in the heavenly starry ocean belonged to the mysterious treasure master. As Xiao Chen walked in the city, he entered deep thought. If the rumor was true, for this treasure master to be able to snatch food from the jaws of a tiger and remain standing among the many immortal holy lands, he had to be an incredible person. Before Xiao Chen knew it, he arrived at the gates of the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association. He strode in, and a pretty maidservant immediately came over to attend to him. "This young master, what instructions do you have?" Xiao Chen did not say anything. He took out a list that he had prepared long ago and handed it over. The maidservant took one look and was startled. It was a long, densely packed list of all sorts of peak divine materials. The signature at the end was even more tyrannical, 50 tons of each. "Young master, come with me. We will go to the distinguished guest pavilion first and rest for a while," the maidservant said with a smile, suppressing her flustered heart. In the distinguished guest pavilion, Xiao Chen did not have to wait for long. The person in charge of the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association, a major character with the status of one of the 3 city lords, personally appeared. When this person entered the distinguished guest pavilion and saw Xiao Chen, he was clearly startled. Then, he waved his hand and dismissed his attendants and guards. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. He smiled in surprise and said, "Miss Ziying, we meet again." The two were surprised. Unexpectedly, after parting at the Treasure Master's residence in 10,000 Treasure City, they met again in Cloud Treasure City. Ziying walked over leisurely and smiled. "It is truly a small world. Blue Dragon King, should I call you Mo Yun or Xiao Chen?" Chapter 1080. As they chatted, Ziying's tone clearly contained a hint of rebuke and mockery. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "A name is just a symbol. Miss Ziying can be called anything you want. Speaking of which, why is Miss Ziying in Cloud Treasure City?" "Thanks to you, I can now go out on my own. The person in charge of the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association in 10,000 Treasure City is my father. Now, I am the sole person in charge of the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association in Cloud Treasure City. At the same time, I am in charge of the business of the entire Northern Sea." Xiao Chen took a sip of tea and said, "In that case, Miss Ziying, you will have to give me a discount for this business. You are really a headache. There is no problem with the discount. I just hope that you don't cause any trouble for me again. If you kidnap the Lunar Palace's holy daughter again, I will not be able to tolerate that." Ziying smiled somewhat helplessly. If not for what happened to Xiao Chen, she would not have been promoted so much. She would have been able to enter the headquarters and enter the core of the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association's authority. However, she did not resent Xiao Chen. If not for Xiao Chen, she would still be in 10,000 Treasure City, not even having the chance to go out on her own. However, she could not stand it. With Xiao Chen's unruly character, it could only be a headache. "I've seen your list. It involves 10,000 kinds of divine materials, 50 tons of each. This is not a small sum." Xiao Chen said calmly, "Money is not a problem. You know how wealthy I am. As long as I have the goods, I can settle the bill immediately." Doing business with young Master Xiao is really refreshing. Divine materials are one of the most frequently traded natural treasures. The Nine Cauldron Merchant Association can take out most of your list. We will only need 3 days to mobilize them. However, there is one thing that my Nine Cauldron Merchant Association does not have. I believe that the other merchant associations do not have 50 tons of it either. Xiao Chen was not surprised. He was very clear about his list. The divine material that he lacked was the black patterned gold. The black patterned gold was practically an all-purpose divine material. No matter what kind of secret treasure it was, as long as it had the black patterned gold added to it, its quality would increase significantly. Xiao Chen, who had seen the place where the black patterned gold was produced on the Bushin Palace resource planet, knew very well how precious it was. Only 500 kilograms of pure black patterned gold could be produced from 1,000,000 kilograms of ore. The small output was not proportional to the strong market demand. The market had always been in short supply. Adding a bit of black patterned gold powder to ordinary secret treasures would greatly improve their quality. Xiao Chen wanted 50,000 kilograms in one go. No merchant association would be able to gather that much in a short period of time. How much can your 9-tripod commerce help me get? 50,000 kilograms. We have our own reserves, and with the addition of special channels, we have a maximum of 50,000 kilograms. This is the limit of the limit. Xiao Chen pondered for a moment. 50,000 kilograms was barely enough to pass. It was enough. Deal. Ziying smiled and said, I will deliver the goods to you in 3 days. And, may I ask what kind of artifact you want to refine with so much black dragon vein gold? Refining an emperor artifact? Clearly, that was impossible. Ziying did not believe that Xiao Chen could do so. Aside from that, what kind of secret treasure would require so much black dragon vein gold? One had to know that treasures of different grades all had their own upper limits. If it was not an emperor artifact, it would be a waste no matter how much black dragon vein gold one used after a certain limit. Xiao Chen smiled and said, No. I knew you would say that. Originally, I was planning to tell you something. It looks like there is no need to tell you now. Xiao Chen's expression changed. After thinking for a while, he said, The secret treasures that I want to refine are 2 ancient dragon-seeking secret treasures. I hope that Miss Ziying will help me keep this a secret. Shock flashed in Ziying's eyes. She asked in extreme surprise, You are a geomaster? Xiao Chen did not say anything. Ziying reacted and realized that she had spoken too much. She quickly apologized, Sorry, I promise not to tell anyone. Tonight, the Treasure Master's residence in Cloud Treasure City will be holding an internal auction. The treasures being auctioned are from the Treasure Master's personal collection. They are not open to the public. They will only send invitations to some of the honored guests of the Treasure Master's residence in the Northern Sea. After pausing for a while, Ziying continued, Among the items being auctioned, there is 50 kilograms of divine-grade black dragon vein gold. 50 kilograms of divine-grade black dragon vein gold is worth 50 tons of black dragon vein gold. Can you help me get an invitation? The dragon subduing platform and the dragon revealing mirror held great significance in the Paradise secret canon. Naturally, Xiao Chen would not let go of this opportunity to raise the quality of these 2 items to their limits. Ziying smiled and said, Since I asked, naturally, I am confident of getting an invitation for you. Many thanks. There's no need to thank me. It is only right that you take care of such a big business for me. The night arrived unsteadily. The sky was filled with stars, sparkling brilliantly. Xiao Chen followed Ziying to the Treasure Master's residence. After handing over the invitation, the 2 successfully entered the residence. With someone leading the way, they passed through 9 turns and 18 corridors, passing through garden paths and winding corridors before arriving in front of an exquisite building. The signboard had the words, Cloud Treasure Pavilion. The guards at the entrance verified the 2's identities before letting them in. Please rest here for a while. There is still 1 hour before the auction officially begins. The attendants led the 2 to a private room before taking their leave. There was a formation in the private room. There was a light screen in front of the window, allowing one to clearly see the situation on the auction platform. There were specially made bidding stones on both sides of the seats. The words transmitted through the bidding stones could be heard in all the private rooms. Without activating the bidding stones, all the conversations in the private rooms would not leak out, ensuring the guests' privacy. As Xiao Chen waited, he looked at the rather simple auction list. There were only 20 items on it. The quantity could not compare to that of any other auction. However, the quality rendered Xiao Chen speechless. Every one of them was a treasure worth cities. The divine-grade black patterned gold that caught Xiao Chen's eye could not stand out from the rest, standing out among them. There were at least 5 items that were no less valuable than the divine-grade black dragon vein gold. This showed how high the standards of this auction were. The treasure master is really mysterious. To think that all these treasures belong to him. Furthermore, he casually auctioned them off. He is really willing to part with them. Xiaochun believed that the treasure master definitely did not care about the black astral coins he obtained from the auction. There was only one reason for doing so: to protect his reputation. Ziying nodded and said, "There has always been a saying in the outside world that the treasure master is the hidden seventh holy lord of the heavenly starry ocean. The power and wealth he controls are no weaker than any of the holy lands. In terms of wealth, he should be the strongest in the heavenly starry ocean. No one can compare to him. This bit of treasure is just a drizzle to him. He is that incredible?" This exceeded Xiaochun's expectations. This treasure master was even more mysterious than he had imagined. Ziying said, "This is what my father told me, so it should be correct. However, to us, we are still unable to come into contact with the circle of the treasure master. There is no point in overthinking. Xiaochun, can you help me buy that soul-nourishing azure underworld fruit?" Just at this moment, Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, suddenly spoke up. Xiaochun stopped chatting with Ziying and quickly replied in his heart, "You want to use it?" "Yes, it is very useful to me. I did not expect to run into such a rare natural treasure here. In that case, I'll buy it for you, no matter how much it costs. You did not even ask me what I would use it for. As long as you like it, even if you eat it as a dessert, I will buy it for you." "Ha. In that case, I'll really eat it as a dessert." Ao Jiao smiled mischievously from the immortal spirit ring. This dessert was very expensive. The starting bid was already 1 million black astral coins. However, it was still the same as before. If Ao Jiao liked it, she would buy it no matter how much it cost. There was no reason for that. Soul-nourishing natural treasures were rather unorthodox treasures and were not cheap. However, only a few people who cultivated special cultivation techniques or people with severely injured mental energy would need them. Normal cultivators would not spend a lot of money to buy them, so there should not be many people competing. "It's starting," Ziying said. Xiaochun looked up and saw an old man appear on the light screen in front of the window. The auctioneer had officially started. The yellow-clad old man stepped onto the stage and bowed to show his politeness. "Everyone here is a regular customer of 10,000 Treasure City, so this old man will not say much. I believe everyone knows the rules. Now, let's start with the first treasure." After a pause, the old man removed the red cloth and said with a smile, "This is a treasure sword, a subdivine weapon of the fire attribute. The starting bid is 1 million black astral coins. Each increment must be no less than 10,000 black astral coins. Friends who need it can make a bid." The old man did not show much expression. He looked like this matter did not concern him. Compared to the public auction, he appeared extremely indifferent. He did not care at all about the final price. Xiaochun rather liked such an atmosphere. In a public auction, the auctioneers were all very experienced. Not only did they speak a lot of gibberish when introducing the treasure, but they also dragged out their words when bidding. His accent was also extremely long, and he had to repeat a sentence several times before he stopped. Just based on its appearance, one could tell that this fire-attributed subdivine weapon was no ordinary subdivine weapon. Its quality was extremely high. Xiaochun did not use the sword. However, he paid attention to the bids for this item. He wanted to see how wealthy the other guests were, to see if he could get anything out of it. When it was time to compete for the divine grade black patterned gold, he could make a reasonable bid to suppress his opponents. The price soared, and the treasure sword sold for more than twice its original price, 2,300,000 black astral coins. The buyer was a distinguished guest in booth 75. The booth had a formation that blocked spiritual sense and mental energy. No one would know the buyer's identity, ensuring privacy. There were only 20 items up for auction. The yellow-clad old man moved quickly and decisively. Soon, it was time for the azure underworld fruit. This is an extremely rare mutated fruit. It can nourish the soul and heal injuries to one's mental energy. Normally, you do not need it. However, when you truly need it, you will not be able to find it anywhere. The starting bid is 1 million black astral coins. The yellow-clad old man was very familiar with the items up for auction. When he introduced them, he was very precise and did not beat around the bush at all. When the bids started, the treasure pavilion remained quiet. Clearly, most people felt that there was no need to spend 1 million black astral coins to buy a treasure that they could do without in case of trouble. Chapter 1081. 1,010,000 astral coins. Just when Xiao Chen thought that no one would compete with him, someone in booth 65 raised the bid by 10,000 astral coins. Xiao Chen followed up, raising the bid by 100,000 astral coins. Booth 70 raises the bid by 100,000 astral coins. 1,500,000 astral coins. The person in booth 60 paused for a moment, apparently not expecting anyone to compete with him. When he saw the bid, he immediately called out 1,500,000 astral coins, trying to scare off Xiao Chen. After activating the bidding device, Xiao Chen called out calmly, 2 million astral coins. This increase in bid caught the yellow-clad old man somewhat off guard. Unexpectedly, there was such an intense bid for the azure underworld fruit that no one cared about. 2,500,000 astral coins. A furious bid came from booth 65. After a pause, he continued, I am the young manor lord of the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor, Shifeng. Friend on the other side, will you give me some face? The Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor will definitely remember this favor. 3 million astral coins. Ao Jiao rarely asked Xiao Chen for help. As far as Xiao Chen could remember, there had never been such a thing. It was rare for Ao Jiao to have something that caught her eye. No matter what Xiao Chen said, he would not let it go. Rage flashed on the face of the yellow-clad old man on the auction platform. He said sullenly, Young Master Shi, after this auction, there is no need for you to come to Cloud Treasure City. Cloud Treasure City does not welcome you. If you still want to use your identity to ruin this auction, don't blame the Treasure Master's residence for not giving you face and sending you out. The people of the Treasure Master's residence were extraordinarily strong. The yellow-clad old man's reaction surpassed Xiao Chen's expectations. Senior must be joking. This sure just wants to make a friend. How could I ruin the auction for no reason? I will let this friend have this azure underworld fruit first. Bang. After Shi Feng spoke in booth 65, his face sank. Then he punched the table, shattering the exquisite mahogany table. Senior Jiang, I'm really sorry to disappoint you this time. Little friend Shi is too serious. This old man's main target this time is the divine grade black patterned gold. The azure underworld fruit is just incidental. Shi Feng said in a deep voice, No, I said that I would help Senior Jiang. I will definitely get this azure underworld fruit. Old Yang, help me keep an eye on booth 70. I want to see who is so bold as to not give our Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor any face. A thick killing intent flashed in Shifeng's eyes as he spoke to an old man. Old man Yang accepted the order and left the private room without a sound. In booth 70, after Xiao Chen paid the bill and successfully obtained the green underworld fruit that Ao Jiao wanted, a faint smile appeared on his face. Ziying wanted to say something but stopped herself. She wanted to say something but didn't know what to say. Xiao Chen put away the azure underworld fruit, glanced at her, and said with a smile, Miss Ziying, what do you want to say? Feel free to say it. You're in trouble. Xiao Chen asked, What disaster? The Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor? Naturally. Among the many factions of the Northern Sea Alliance, the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor can rank within the top 10. In recent years, the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor has risen abnormally fast. Many people say that they will push down the Yi clan for the next alliance chief position. Although you cannot make a move here, the other party is intent on keeping an eye on you. Once you leave the city lord's residence, it will be somewhat problematic. Xiao Chen nodded in agreement. Then, he said seriously, Yes, it will indeed be somewhat problematic. Seeing Xiao Chen's indifferent expression, Ziying felt somewhat helpless. Suddenly she reacted and said, Are you messing with me? You know the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's background. Oh, she really hit the mark. Xiao Chen does know. Since Xiao Chen had thought of using Yi Chen to establish a connection to the Northern Sea Alliance, he had done his homework. He was rather clear about the Northern Sea Alliance's internal affairs. Seeing Xiao Chen tacitly agree, Ziying clenched her teeth. She hated this fellow to death. However, she could not do anything to him. She could not bear to part with that big deal. Xiao Chen smiled and said, I came to the Northern Sea this time to visit the Yi clan. If the two clans fight, I will definitely help the Yi clan. Sooner or later, I will run into this group of people. Ziying said, feeling wronged, you sure are carefree. However, I am the one suffering. Doing business requires one to be smooth and slick, traveling everywhere and currying favor everywhere. However, this requires extremely high skill. Given your current experience, mental state, and age, you cannot do that. You will only run into walls everywhere, not gaining any benefits. Now that you know your weaknesses, you should make a choice as soon as possible. Choose between the Yi clan and the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor, then support them fully. When Ziying heard this, she felt stunned. Xiao Chen's calm and indifferent gaze seemed to see through everything. These words were like a wake-up call, enlightening her and rendering her speechless for a long time. Wait a minute. Ziying reacted. I was clearly the one who wanted to teach him a lesson. How did it turn out to be him teaching me what to do? Ziying wanted to say something but discovered that Xiao Chen was already staring at the light screen. The auction for the divine grade black patterned gold had already started. The bidding was extremely intense. Soon, the starting bid rose from 1 million to 3 million. Just as Ziying was about to say something, she discovered that Xiao Chen was already staring at the light screen. The auction for the divine grade black patterned gold had already started. The bidding was extremely intense. Soon, the starting bid rose from 1 million to 3 million. Ziying calmed herself down and analyzed, 5 million is a dividing line. It is already twice the market price. Spending an extra cent would be a huge loss. Only 2 or 3 people remained bidding. Among them, Shi Feng, number 65, was the most unyielding. He did not hesitate to raise the bid every time, raising it to 500,000 every time. He was extremely wealthy, acting like he could crush the other party no matter how much money he had. The yellow-clad old man looked around and said calmly, Number 65 bids 7 million. Is there anyone willing to raise the price higher? Number 65 bids 7 million. Is there anyone willing to raise the price higher? The yellow-clad old man said calmly as he looked around. 7 million was already more than 3 times the market price. It was simply not worth it to buy more. The intense bidding finally calmed down. The sky-high price of 7 million forced back many potential buyers. 10 million. Xiao Chen activated the bidding device and calmly called out a number, shocking the entire place. Inside the private room, Xiao Chen was currently chatting happily with that mysterious senior Jiang. Shi Feng, who was waiting to receive the goods, received a heavy blow, causing him to spit out a mouthful of tea. Damn! Is there no end to this? The sky-high price of 10 million black astral coins shocked the entire place. Shi Feng, who had always been overbearing, no longer made a sound. Xiao Chen successfully won the bid for the divine grade black patterned gold. When the maidservant brought the treasure over, he happily paid the bill. Ziying was flabbergasted. Using 5 times the market price to obtain the divine grade black patterned gold, Xiao Chen's boldness was truly admirable. Including the price of the other divine materials, Xiao Chen still had to pay another 20 million black astral coins. That was to forge 2 dragon-seeking secret treasures. Xiao Chen spent a total of 30 million black astral coins. Not counting the ordinary Emperor Wu's treasures, he could only take out so much black astral coins. Is it worth it? Using such a high price to obtain the divine grade black patterned gold is worth half the price of the other 99 divine materials. The divine grade black patterned gold flickered with a dreamy, 9-colored light. Xiao Chen was mesmerized by it. He said softly, if you knew how important these 2 secret treasures are to me, you would not ask this. Are you really a geomaster? You should not ask what you should not ask. Xiao Chen did not answer. He put away the black patterned gold and headed for the door. Don't be so petty. Ziying smiled faintly and quickly chased after him. Are you really a geomaster for dragon seeking and vein fixing? Just tell me. Ignoring Ziying, Xiao Chen went out. The dazzling walkway looked empty. After casually looking around, Xiao Chen headed back the way he came. After Xiao Chen went far away, a figure slowly appeared at a corner of the wall. It was old Yang, who had been waiting here on Shi Feng's orders. As old Yang stared in the direction Xiao Chen left, he entered deep thought. He muttered, "So, it is him, the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen. No wonder he was so tyrannical, not even giving face to the young manor lord. This will be difficult to deal with." Shaking his head, old Yang did not think too much. With a few flashes, he returned to booth 65 and reported everything that he saw. "Is the Blue Dragon King very incredible?" When Shi Feng heard what old Yang said, he felt a fire burn in him for no reason. Then he snorted heavily. Right now, everyone knows that he will die young, becoming a meteor. He is just a piece of trash. To think that he dares to compete with me. He is simply reckless. If I do not teach him a lesson, he will think that he is someone important. The mysterious, black-robed old man with the family name Jiang put down his teacup and said softly, "Let's just forget about this matter. No matter how dazzling a genius with no future shines, it is useless. However, I do not wish to offend the Thunder King behind him." Seeing Shi Feng open his mouth, the old man with the family name Jiang interrupted, "Young Master Shi, don't worry. I will continue with what I promised you. It is hard for me to reject the Manor Lord's sincerity." Shi Feng was young and full of vigor. In the Northern Sea, he had never felt so stifled before. He got slapped in the face at the auction. If word of this spread, he would become a big joke. "Senior Jiang, I will bear all the consequences of this. I don't believe that the Thunder King can do anything to me after dealing with a genius with no future." A vicious look flashed in Shi Feng's eyes as his voice turned bone-chilling. Shi Feng's words were filled with confidence. He felt that Xiao Chen was already past his prime. If he touched Xiao Chen, there would not be any major consequences. However, Shi Feng did not consider whether he had enough people to deal with the Bushin Palace's Thunder King. In Shi Feng's opinion, Xiao Chen was just a blue-robed emperor who had not even reached small perfection. Shi Feng did not care about the rules of the world. How could Shi Feng give Shi Feng any chance to turn things around when he outnumbered Shi Feng? He could do whatever he wanted. As long as Shi Feng did not die, the Thunder King and the Bushin Palace would not be able to do anything to him. "Let's go. I'll go and see what kind of person this Blue Dragon King is." Right after Shi Feng spoke, he led the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manors group away, quickly giving chase. Soon, only the mysterious Mr. Jiang remained in the booth, sipping tea alone. Mr. Jiang slowly put down the teacup, and some doubt flashed in his eyes. Why did this Blue Dragon King spend so many black astral coins to bid for the divine grade black patterned gold for no reason? According to the rumors, this Xiao Chen was not a sucker. Could it be that he did not live up to his reputation? Whether Xiao Chen lived up to his reputation or not, it would be clear from the outcome of Shi Feng's group. Chapter 1082. Xiao Chen smoothly walked out of the treasure master's residence without any danger or commotion. This allowed Ziying, who was following behind, to heave a sigh of relief. After all, this was Cloud Treasure City. No matter how arrogant the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manors people were, they would not dare to make a move here openly. However, before Xiao Chen could reveal a smile, he saw a group of unwelcome guests not far away from the treasure master's residence. The surroundings were quiet. Clearly, the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manors cultivators had already notified the people nearby and sent them away. Shi Feng had a casual expression as he led the three small perfection blue-robed emperor old men. Then, he said to Xiao Chen in an unperturbed manner, "Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen, are you surprised? As I said, I only handed the Azure Underworld fruit to you for safekeeping. Do you think that by leaving the auction hall early, you can just walk away?" Dong. Don't. Urgent footsteps resounded in the surroundings. Several cultivators wearing the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manors uniform appeared on the walls and roofs. These people were all martial sages. They held crossbows and all sorts of ancient demonic energy cannons as they surrounded Xiao Chen with surging killing chi. Ziying's expression changed slightly, feeling extremely surprised. She had not expected the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manors hidden faction to be so strong. Her voice quivered somewhat as she said, "Shifeng, are you crazy? To think that you dare to make a move in Cloud Treasure City. Are you really not afraid of offending the Treasure Master?" Shifeng smiled and said, "Everyone has their value. I believe that the Treasure Master will make the right choice between the second strongest faction of the Northern Sea Alliance and a has-been genius. You too. If the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association still wants to do business in the Northern Sea, then shut up now." Ziying was exasperated. Now, she finally understood what Xiaochen meant. It was simply too difficult for her to be smooth, currying favor with everyone. Beat him up. Beat him up ruthlessly. Let him know what pain is. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you are the Blue Dragon King. Shifeng felt angry in his heart. When he thought about the scene at the auction hall, his rage flared. He had revealed his identity, but the other party did not give him any face at all, embarrassing him in front of the many honored guests. Like a fool, he couldn't swallow this anger no matter what. At this moment, he couldn't hold it in any longer. He couldn't be bothered to say any more nonsense. He just wanted to vent his anger, or else he wouldn't be able to calm down. Behind him, the three blue-robed emperors did not say a word. They did not dare to be careless when facing Xiaochen. They attacked at the same time, using their best killing moves. Obviously, he wanted to heavily injure Xiaochen in an instant with the force of a thunderbolt, so as to avoid any new problems from arising. The person in the middle displayed a sword move. His body became one with the heavens, and a sword flew over, piercing through the void. Strange phenomena appeared, and its might was unparalleled. Of the two old men on the left and right, one was wielding a staff while the other was wielding a spear. Their imposing manner was not inferior to the old man in the middle at all. When the three of them attacked together, the color of heaven and earth changed at this moment. The curtain of night trembled and was on the verge of collapsing. It could be said to be extremely terrifying. Xiaochen gently pushed Ziying, and an irresistible force pushed Ziying back a kilometer in that instant. Now that there was nothing holding him back, Xiaochen made his move calmly. First, a sword appeared in his hand. 9 flashes with 1 step, 9 strikes with 1 flash. As plum blossoms fell, Xiaochen stepped on the plum blossoms and took 9 steps, sending out 81 sword strikes. When Ziying, who was in the distance, saw this scene, she was shocked. This profound martial technique was clearly the changing plum blossom sword. One of the 9 jade strips that Xiaochen sold her was the changing plum blossom sword. Ziying guessed that Xiaochen definitely had a copy of the profound martial technique that he sold her. However, she could not have imagined that Xiaochen, a bladesman, could actually execute this sword technique so well. His mind and soul were present, and there was no awkwardness at all. The 81 sword strikes followed the mysteries of the changing plum blossom sword, breaking down the killing move of the old man in the middle. Then, Xiaochen kicked the old man away. That was not all. The sword in Xiaochen's hand disappeared, replaced by a wooden staff. He grasped the staff with his right hand and spun it around 3 times. The howling wind gave off a thunderous tremor in the air. Then, he took advantage of the momentum to withdraw. The wind and lightning suddenly stopped and hid themselves, clashing forcefully with the old man using the staff. Bang! The old man's staff shattered. The wind and lightning exploded, blasting the old man back and causing him to vomit blood. The wind thunder staff was another one of the 9 profound martial techniques. Ziying gaped, not knowing what to say. After sending the old man flying with 1 staff strike, the weapon in Xiaochen's hand changed again, turning into a spear. In the time it took for a spark to fly, he turned around and thrust his hand back. Purple lightning-attributed flames spread out on the spear. When Xiaochen turned around, his spear contained great might, seeming to pierce through space. When Xiaochen turned around and struck the spear in the last old man's hand, the spear shattered from top to bottom. Flames spread out and surged over the sky, burning endlessly. It was like the sky was on fire at this moment. The blazing flames burned endlessly on the horizon, illuminating the night sky and making it look very bright. Furthermore, it was one of the 9 profound martial techniques, Heaven-Burning Spear. Ziying was already completely stunned, speechless. The Shao Chun before her completely surpassed her imagination. In an instant, he defeated 3 small perfection blue-robed emperors. Furthermore, he used the weapons that they were most proficient with. Aside from the Blue Dragon King Shao Chun, Ziying simply could not think of anyone else who could do this. After landing, Shao Chun held the spear flickering with lightning-attributed flames and ferociously tossed it forward. The spear was like lightning tearing through the dark night. This startled Shi Feng, who quickly dodged. The spear tip stabbed into the ground, and the spear hummed endlessly. Shock waves radiated out in all directions. Shi Feng, who was retreating, could not dodge in time and was struck by the shock waves, causing him to vomit a mouthful of blood. In the treasure master's residence in the distance, the Cloud Treasure City's city lord stood on a tall building. When he saw all this, he muttered to himself with some pity, "If I could really advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years, I would definitely favor you." The meaning behind the scene was that the city lord's current choice favored the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's young manor master. Without the city lord's tacit approval, no matter how capable the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor was, how could they have mobilized so many people under his nose? The city lord waved his hand, and the people hidden in the shadows received his order and withdrew. At the place where Shao Chen and the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor fought, many black-clad men descended from the sky and surrounded the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's people. The city lord has ordered that private fights are not allowed in Cloud Treasure City. If anyone dares to make a move again, they will be killed without mercy. Someone in the air said coldly. They really appeared at the right time. Shao Chun smiled mockingly in his heart. Since the city lord's residence was so strong, why did Shi Feng appear to surround him? Yet, after Shao Chun gained the upper hand, he immediately appeared. On the surface, he did not help either side, but in reality he favored the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's side. "Let's go." Shi Feng wiped away the blood at the corner of his lips and glared hatefully at Shao Chun. Then he quickly led the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's people away. When Shi Feng looked at Shao Chun, he no longer had the initial arrogance. There was only heavy fear. The 3 small perfection blue-robed emperors instantly lost to Shao Chun. Furthermore, Shao Chun had used the weapons that the blue-robed emperors specialized in. In terms of strength, Shi Feng knew that even if there were 100 of him, he would not be a match for Shao Chun. After the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's people left, the guards of the treasure master's residence also retreated like the receding tide, as if they had never been there. The merchants and cultivators that the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor had cleared out earlier also appeared out of nowhere. The desolate path slowly became bustling. Ziying floated over and thanked Shao Chun. "Many thanks for making a move earlier." Shao Chun said calmly, "Let's go. It's just a small matter. I would like to ask you, did you learn all the 9 profound martial techniques that you sold me? Strictly speaking, I can't be considered to have learned them. I can barely execute them. I am still far from reaching great perfection and mastering them through a comprehensive study, not to mention comprehending the states and mysteries." Naturally, Ziying was not satisfied with this answer. Her lips curled up as she said, "You are really humble. I have been used by others with spears, staffs, and swords all my life. I am not even comparable to a layman like you. What more do you want?" Shao Chun smiled and did not say anything more. It was not that he was being humble. The main reason Shao Chun could defeat the 3 small perfection blue-robed emperors was that his heavenly laws far surpassed theirs. In terms of moves, they were about the same. Shao Chun mainly wanted to test his moves on the 3. It looked like the results were pretty good. "Senior Jiang, I'm really sorry. I failed. I cannot help Senior obtain the divine grade black patterned gold and the azure underworld fruit." Shi Feng led the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's group to meet up with the mysterious old man with the family name Jiang. Then he performed a cupped fist salute and apologized. The old man with the family name Jiang remained expressionless, not showing any fluctuations in his expression. He said indifferently, "It's fine. I'll think of something myself. I did not decide to help the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor because of these 2 items." Shi Feng was unruly. However, from start to end, he was very polite to this old man. His attitude was much more respectful than that of the few small perfection quasi-emperors of his clan. I understand. Senior rejected the Yi clan's invitation and came to my Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor. It is a great blessing. However, I did not expect something to go wrong with the gift that I originally intended to give to Senior. Shi Feng took out a spatial ring apologetically and handed it over. There are 5 million black astral coins here. I hope that Senior will accept it. The old man with the family name Jiang glanced at the spatial ring and said, "Your father and I can be considered old friends. Little friend, there is no need to be so polite. Let's go. It's time to meet your father." He still has not told me what kind of dragon cave this is. Are we not going to care about that blue dragon king? I was even preparing to find someone to block him after he leaves the city, Shi Feng said. The old man with the family name Jiang waved his hand and said, "There's no need. If there are no surprises, his destination in the Northern Sea is the Yi clan. You will still have a chance to meet him at that time." The old man with the family name Jiang still had something to say. At that time, he should be able to find out what exactly Xiaochen was going to refine with the divine grade black patterned gold. 3 days later, Ziying gathered all the divine materials that Xiaochen needed as promised. Then, Xiaochen sought out a quiet room from Ziying and started to refine the dragon subduing platform and the dragon revealing mirror. In order to succeed on the first try, Xiaochen took out the Paradise Secret Canon and carefully read the second segment of the ingenious workmanship several times. After that, he used some ordinary materials to experiment and gain experience. Only when Xiaochen tried it out did he discover that the refinement of the dragon subduing platform was even more complicated than he had imagined. The scale of the project exceeded his expectations. First was the platform. This was the most basic. The platform needed a dragon head guillotine, the dragon summoning bell, the heavenly fire dragon capturing hand, and so on. Chapter 1083. It was not a single secret treasure but a complete set of secret treasures. Every part was incredibly troublesome to refine. It gave the feeling that one would never succeed in refining it in their lifetime. Feeling suspicious, Xiaochen searched through the first part of the jade strip, which introduced the Yuan clan. Only then did he discover that the dragon subduing platform was the Yuan clan's final trump card for suppressing strong dragon veins, the trump card of trump cards. The dragon subduing platforms that the successors of the previous generations had all spent at least 10 years of effort to refine. The Yuan clan's clan protecting treasure, the dragon subduing platform, took their ancestor 1,000 years to refine, reaching emperor grade. Without reaching a certain cultivation, one could not control this emperor grade dragon subduing platform. Hence, the great heavenly masters would refine their own set of dragon-seeking secret treasures before they were strong enough. Xiaochen felt incredibly envious. If he could find the Yuan clan's ancestral mansion, he would be rich. In the future, if he could get that corpse from Ba Tu, he might be able to find some clues. Xiaochen set aside the refinement of the dragon-subduing platform for now and focused on refining the dragon-revealing mirror. The dragon-revealing mirror was an ancient mirror. It required 100 types of divine materials and 49 profound formations were carved into it. The difficulty was worlds apart from refining the dragon-subduing platform. Xiaochen spent half a month to complete the refinement. The disc-sized ancient mirror was surrounded by a circle of ancient patterns, and its back was engraved with many mysterious array patterns. The front was a mirror as smooth as water. Xiaochen spent most of the half a month on this mirror. The dragon-seeking secret treasures were useless in battle. However, they had a strong suppressive effect on the great dragons and evil dragons formed by spirit veins. Before subduing several holy spirit veins, their ferocious auras carried the power of the world. Even Emperor Wu did not dare to be careless. As for King Spirit Veins, that went without saying. Regular Emperor Wu would not be able to subdue them. With this dragon-revealing mirror and the various secret techniques in the Paradise Secret Canon, in addition to Xiaochen's own strength, subduing peak spirit veins would be a piece of cake. Suppressing a holy spirit vein by himself would not be a problem, even if he expended some effort. Of course, the prerequisite for all of this was that they could find the dragon vein. Otherwise, there would be no stage for them to display their abilities. After putting away the dragon-revealing mirror, Xiao Chen went to look for Ziying and took his leave. "Young Master Xiao, do you mind having one more person on this trip?" Ziying asked with a smile. Xiao Chen looked up and asked, "You want to go?" I think you're right. With my age, experience, and state of mind, I'm still far from being able to socialize with everyone. Why don't we just stand in line and do something great in the Northern Sea region?" When Xiao Chen saw Xiao Chen's serious expression, he could not help smiling. He said softly, "I was just saying it casually. Never mind, let's just follow them. I just want to make it clear that I'll leave after meeting my friend. I won't be staying for long." However, Xiao Chen, Xiao, Xiao, However, the other party did not even give her a chance to vent her anger. He had already turned around and walked far away. Ziying hurriedly followed after him. With Ziying following him, Xiao Chen, who had originally planned to test the power of the dragon-revealing mirror, had to give up. However, Xiao Chen did not forget his homework. He did not stop cultivating the Paradise Secret Cannon. About half a month later, the two arrived at the island where the North Sea Alliance's headquarters was located, Soaring Cloud Island. Xiao Chen stood at the bow of the warship and looked at the silhouette of Lingyun Island. He wondered if he could meet Yi Chen. Cultivators usually did not have a fixed place to stay and wandered around. This was especially so for a martial fanatic like Yi Chen. It was hard to say. "What is it? What are you thinking about?" Ziying came out from the cabin and asked with a smile. Xiao Chen told her the truth. Ziying could not help but smile and say, "Don't worry. He will definitely be there." "How can you be so sure?" Ziying said softly, "The massacre bladesman Yi Chen is rather famous in the Northern Sea. About half a year ago, he returned from the Kunlun continent. His strength had increased greatly, and he immediately challenged the life-killing swordsman, Yan Shisan." "There's such a thing? What happened in the end?" "He lost by half a move. After that, I heard that he has been in closed-door cultivation at home and has not come out much. Losing to Yan Shisan was not an injustice. Yi Chen was in too much of a rush. The top swordsman of the Kunlun continent was no joke. Right, in that case, I'll use this as a return gift." Xiao Chen thought of a gift. While discussing the Tao over tea in the profound domain's heavenly cauldron city, Xiao Chen had opened his mouth to speak, and many ancient sages had appeared. He had memorized the ancient saber Tao. Among them, there was a detailed explanation of the massacre saber Tao. Yi Chen would probably like it. There was only one vast and majestic city on the island called Soaring Cloud City. It served as the central hub, connecting the hundreds of factions of various sizes in the Northern Sea Alliance. Now, the Yi clan managed the city. If one wanted to find Yi Chen, one just had to go to the city lord's residence. When Xiao Chen reported his identity, the city lord's residence's guard's expression changed. He became much more polite and respectful as he quickly ran in to report. Not long after, a youth dressed in luxurious embroidered clothes appeared before Xiao Chen. This youth looked very similar to Yi Chen, but he was more mature. He led two old men over to Xiao Chen. "Young Master Xiao, you are finally here. My little brother has been talking about you for a long time." The youth smiled faintly and performed a cupped fist salute. "I forgot to introduce myself. I am Yi Feng, Yi Chen's big brother." As Yi Feng spoke, he invited Xiao Chen and Ziying in. His attitude was very polite, not showing any of the arrogance of a large clan's disciple. He gave off a good impression at first glance. I already sent someone to inform my little brother. That brat has been cultivating to the point of going crazy. Recently, the inheritors of the Holy Lands have been heading to the heart of the ocean to bury emperors. They have gained a lot, making him anxious." Ziying, who was at the side, said, "I heard that these Holy Land inheritors all obtain the opportunity to become a blue-robed emperor. Once they become a blue-robed emperor, with the resources of the Holy Land, they can immediately push them to small perfection blue-robed emperor. After that, It will be smooth sailing for them to become a great perfection blue-robed emperor. At that time, the gap between them will widen. Yi Feng nodded and said, yes. 1 year from now, it will be the Four Seas Hero Gathering. Second brother has no choice but to work hard. The resources of our Northern Sea Alliance are no weaker than those of the Holy Lands. However, if he cannot find the opportunity to become a blue-robed emperor, everything will be for naught. One needed an opportunity to become a blue-robed emperor. One needed to rely on one's own comprehension. No amount of resources would be enough. However, it was different for a blue-robed emperor. A small perfection blue-robed emperor and a great perfection blue-robed emperor competed in resources. Xiao Chen was very clear on this principle. However, he did not seek the Haotian Emperor or the Thunder King for resources because the requirements were too great. No Holy Land could bear the cost of nurturing two geniuses. The Haotian sect had its first senior sister, Shui Lingling, who needed to be nurtured as the sect master. The Thunder and Lightning Palace also had an Juanxi, who needed to be nurtured as a successor. Only now did Yi Feng notice Zi Ying, who was at the side. His eyes lit up as he said, "This young lady seems to have not been introduced yet." Zi Ying smiled and said, "Zi Ying, the manager of the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association's Northern Sea." "So, it is the beautiful manager of the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association's XN Lai. Ha. I heard about you and was planning to make some time to pay you a visit. Unexpectedly, we met in advance today." Yi Feng smiled faintly. His words were appropriate and flawless. The two chatted happily. It was clear that this Yi Feng was different from Yi Qin. He managed the Yi clan's internal affairs in the Northern Sea Alliance, wielding real authority. As for Yi Qin, he was a pure cultivation fanatic and did not care about such things. Boom. Just at this moment, an extremely horrifying saber chi of massacre suddenly appeared in the air. It tore through the sky, wanting to destroy all life and slaughter everything. Before the saber arrived, its aura already gained the upper hand. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. It was already too late to draw his saber. With a flip of his hand, he sent out a palm strike. Surging heavenly laws drove the power of the world as he counterattacked. Bang! A huge force scattered the killing chi. The person who attacked revealed himself. It was Yi Qin, whom Xiao Chen had not seen for more than half a year. "I am ashamed. It has been a long time since we met. Now, I can only see Brother Zhao's back. I can't even receive a palm strike from you." Yi Qin stepped forward amid carefree laughter and patted Xiao Chen's shoulder. "I heard that you came to the heavenly starry ocean long ago. Why are you only here now? Big brother, go and prepare a banquet. I have to properly entertain this brother." Yi Feng smiled and said, "Why would I need you to tell me about such a small matter? I already sent someone to prepare it. There will be a banquet tonight." Xiao Chen quickly rejected, "There is no need to be so polite. I like peace and quiet. I just want to find a place to drink and chat." Clearly, Yi Qin was not a person who bothered with trifles. He waved his hand and said, "In that case, listen to my brother. Come, let's find a pavilion and have a few drinks." Yi Feng felt that something was wrong. Now that the Blue Dragon King was here, he had to put on a show. However, his brother already said so. If he insisted, it would seem like a stranger. When they arrived at the back garden, Yi Feng ordered people to make some simple preparations. Then, the four sat down and started chatting casually. As the conversation progressed, Yi Feng discovered that Xiao Chen did not have any of the rumored arrogance. He was clearly more open, laughing nonstop and chatting about anything. During the banquet, Xiao Chen took out the ancient saber Tao of massacre that he copied and gave it to Yi Qin. Yi Qin carefully read it and could not contain his joy. He carefully put it away and performed a cupped fist salute. "Brother Xiao, you have helped me greatly again. With this ancient sage saber Tao, I will have no problem advancing to the blue-robed emperor within a year." Xiao Chen had already accumulated enough. All he lacked now was an opportunity. The ancient saber sovereign's saber Tao of massacre was such an opportunity. However, this little brother is helpless about Brother Zhao's problem. At the mention of this problem, the atmosphere at the table immediately turned heavy and oppressive. Yi Feng continued, After second brother heard about the matter of physiological lifespan, he immediately went to ask father about it. My father said that there is a chance. However, increasing one's physiological lifespan is as difficult as cutting down the heavens and snatching fate. Yi Chen's father was the Northern Alliance's alliance chief, a greater heavenly Emperor Wu. He was a major character through and through. Xiao Chen picked up his wine cup and took a sip. Then, he said calmly, there is always a way out. The great Tao takes 49 and leaves 1. Everything has a chance of survival. The Blue Dragon King's understanding of the great Tao is very enlightening. Can you explain it to me in detail? Steady laughter resounded. This startled Xiao Chen. When did this person arrive? Why did I not sense anything? Chapter 1084. Yi Chen and Yi Feng rejoiced at the same time. They quickly stood up and said, Father, why are you here? Ha! The Blue Dragon King personally came to my Yi clan. How could I not come? Why didn't the two of you tell me? The newcomer scolded with a smile, appearing very approachable. No wonder no one sensed him. The one who came was the greater heavenly Emperor Wu, a peak martial emperor, the Northern Sea Alliance's alliance chief, Yi Qing. Being addressed as the Blue Dragon King by such a person, Xiao Chen simply could not accept it. He quickly stood up and performed a cupped fist salute. Senior must be joking. How could I dare to call myself king before senior? Yi Qing retorted seriously, why not? This is the title that the prime of the Bushan Palace, the Thunder King, personally conferred. Which martial emperor would dare to not acknowledge it? Senior, just call this little one by my name. I truly do not dare. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. The other party's seriousness put him at a loss. Yi Qing smiled and said, I'll stop joking with little friend. Come sit. Yi Qing had a natural charm. His words and actions were very convincing. After everyone sat down, Yi Qing continued, the number of great changes is a phrase that the orthodox Taoist immortal cultivators often mentioned during the immortal epoch. Even now, no one can explain the original correct explanation. The Penglai Sea's people all have their own understandings of it. Speaking of which, why does little friend think that only 1 out of 50 is 49? Heaven never seals off all paths, leaving a chance for survival? Xiao Chen blushed with shame. He really could not come up with any great reason for this phrase. However, he often saw this phrase in all sorts of secret manuals and ancient books. He combined it with his flawless saber Tao and casually comprehended it, not daring to show it off in front of senior. After Xiao Chen told the truth, Yi Qing smiled unconcernedly. There are many crucial and controversial points in this phrase. What does the number of great changes refer to? Why only 49 out of 50? There are many different opinions. Little friend, you can just casually say it. Yi Feng and the others also looked at Xiao Chen curiously, causing him to feel a significant pressure. He smiled and said, in that case, I was just speaking casually. Senior, please don't laugh at me. The way I see it, the number of Dian refers to the number of changes in the heavenly Tao. 49 out of 50 is how I understand it. The number of changes in the heavenly Tao requires 50 to be perfect and flawless. However, the heavenly Tao left behind 1 change, so it is impossible for anything to be perfect. There is nothing in the world that is flawless. This is a sliver of hope. There will always be this sliver of hope. Everyone's life is spent pursuing this sliver of hope. Obtaining this one will create a new one. While the others were still at a loss, Yi Qing's eyes lit up. He smiled and said, you mean that the great Tao will not change? Even if you obtain this one, the heavenly Tao will change. In the end, you will find that the number of great changes is still 49, and you will have to search for a new one. After that, Yi Qing thought of something and said in sudden understanding, I heard long ago that you comprehended the flawless saber Tao. Originally, I did not think much of it. However, after hearing what you said, I can conclude that you have indeed created a Tao that belongs to you. Xiao Chen felt like he had met someone who understood him. He poured a cup of wine for Yi Qing and continued, the great Tao is flawless, but it is also flawed. Flawless refers to a kind of pursuit, a kind of obsession. In life, there will always be a sliver of hope. Do not ever give up until the very last moment. Yi Qing felt something in his heart. Xiao Chen's words happened to touch on his recent troubles. He drained his cup in one gulp and said, "That's right. There will always be a sliver of hope. Who knows what the future will be like? No matter what, I, Yi Qing, will definitely befriend you, Blue Dragon King. When you advance to Martial Emperor 5 years later, this Yi will give you a big gift." Xiao Chen raised his cup and clinked glasses with Yi Qing, draining it in one gulp. This trip to the Northern Sea had taken up a lot of time. Given the tight time he had, it was not worth it. It was worth it to be able to meet his good friend Yi Qin and personally impart the mysteries of the massacre saber Dao to him. If he could befriend a senior like Yi Qing, it would all be worth it. Xiao Chen drank this cup of wine to his heart's content. Yi Qing smiled and said, "It is rare that you are in such a good mood. Let me speak about my thoughts on this great yen number, 49 out of 50. After Yi Feng, Zi Ying, and Yi Chen carefully experienced Xiao Chen's understanding, they were already entranced and gained many comprehensions. When they heard that Yi Qing wanted to speak as well, they could not help but become more interested. Yi Chen even stood up with a smile and said, "Father, let me pour some wine for you. Normally, when I ask you, you always say that you do not know anything. Today, you should speak more." Yi Qing smiled and scolded, "You blockhead. No matter how much I speak, you will not understand. Instead, it will harm you." The great yen number, my view, is the same as little friend Xiao Chen's. It is the number of changes in the heavenly Tao. However, the one that is removed cannot be chased or found. 1, 2, 3. Yi Qing started counting. At first, he did not feel anything. However, the three slowly discovered that something was wrong. As Yi Qing counted them one by one, the surrounding scenery began to change rapidly, and a small world suddenly formed. Every time Yi Qing counted a world, the small world would change. It was like everything in the world was returning to its place. As the number increased, the small world slowly became more complete. Tall mountains, flowing water, blue sky, white clouds, flowers, trees, and people came and went. Without realizing it, Xiao Chen and the others started silently counting along with Yi Qing's numbers. When Xiao Chen counted to 49, the small world was completely formed. Yi Qing stopped counting. Xiao Chen felt stifled. When he wanted to count to 50, he could not do it no matter how hard he tried. In the end, the number 50 disappeared from his mind. No matter how hard he tried, he could not recall it. Yi Qing drank the cup of wine that Yi Chen poured for him and smiled faintly. "Where is 50? This is my world. I am the heavenly Tao. The final change is myself. It cannot be thought of, it cannot be sought, it cannot be imagined." When Yi Qing waved his hand and scattered his small world, the other three, including Xiao Chen, showed incredulous expressions. They felt like they had opened another door, boundlessly mysterious and unfathomable. Thinking about how he had boasted in front of Yi Qing earlier, Xiao Chen could not help but feel embarrassed. This was the correct understanding. This was how the great Tao should be. Just at this moment, four people arrived with Yi Qing. However, they stood in the distance, looking like guards. One of them ran over and quickly said to Yi Qing, "Big brother, it is about time. The people of the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor and the other 9 factions should have already set off." Yi Qing stood up and looked at Yi Feng. "Feng, go and bring Mr. Qin over. Then we will leave together. Qin, take good care of little brother Xiao Chen and this young lady from the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association. Take good care of them as well." An indiscernible sadness flashed in Yi Feng's eyes. Then he stood up to receive the order and left. "Little friend, don't let your Tao waver. The great Tao has always been one where hundreds of schools of thought contend. There is no correct great Tao. My Tao might not be the only one." Before Yi Qing left, he said this to Xiao Chen. Then he patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and smiled. "Let's go. I am going to the one you mentioned, the one chance of survival. Until the very end, I cannot give up." After saying that, the current alliance chief of the Northern Sea Alliance left with the 4 people that followed him like shadows. Xiao Chen entered deep thought, feeling greatly touched. After a while, he reacted and asked, "Yi-Chen, what is your father going to do? Why does he look so worried?" Yi-Chen sighed and said, "Recently, I discovered a dragon cave in the northern sea. It seems to contain a holy spirit vein, perhaps even a king spirit vein. My elder brother went to invite someone. Originally, he wanted to invite the publicly acknowledged strongest geomaster, Jiang Tian. However, who could have imagined that the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manners people would invite him? When he went to invite other geomasters, he discovered that the more famous ones had already been invited by other factions. So, he could only invite a low-ranked geomaster. Xiao Chen understood. Although losing a holy spirit vein to a major faction like the Yi clan was painful, it was still acceptable. If a king spirit vein was snatched away by the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor or another faction, the Yi clan's position as the top faction in the Northern Sea Alliance would definitely be unstable. The importance of a geomaster in fighting for a hidden spirit vein like this went without saying. Ordinary spirit veins could be discovered with one glance. With soaring spiritual energy and various mysterious phenomena, it would be hard not to discover them. However, everyone could discover such spirit veins. The various holy lands had already plundered them clean. Once they appeared, they would incite the various factions to fight over them. In this day and age, if one wanted to discover a new spirit vein, they could only rely on a geomaster to seek dragons and fix veins. After the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor managed to invite Jiang Tian away, the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor had already snatched away half of the spirit vein hidden in this dragon cave. The Yi clan had lost a great advantage. It was practically impossible for a mediocre geomaster to compete with the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor, which had the strongest geomaster. When Ziying heard this, she immediately looked at Xiao Chen. She smiled and said, "In that case, how about Brother Xiao give it a try? He is quite knowledgeable about seeking dragons and fixing veins. It would not be too much to consider him an expert." Yi Chen's eyes lit up as he asked in anticipation, "Xiao Chen, you also know how to seek dragons and fix veins?" Xiao Chen smiled bitterly to himself. He knew that Ziying was taking revenge on him. He took a sip of wine and smiled. "Don't listen to her nonsense. I only know a little about this. Before a geomaster, it is not worth mentioning." However, Yi Chen did not care that much. He stood up and pulled Xiao Chen along with him. He smiled and said, "It's fine. Let's go. In that case, come with me and take a look. I don't need you to do anything. Just watch." Ziying looked provocatively at Xiao Chen, smiling gently. Her meaning was clear. "You did not tell me anything. Now, it will be hard for you not to expose yourself." Xiao Chen could not avoid Yi Chen's enthusiasm. He said helplessly, "All right, I'll go and take a look. However, don't get your hopes up." Yi Chen smiled and said, "It's fine. Just go and take a look. It will just broaden my horizons. Let's see how these geomasters subdue a dragon." Yi Chen led Xiao Chen and Ziying, rushing all the way. They finally caught up to Yi Qing's group, who were preparing to leave, at the gates of the city lord's residence. Xiao Chen sized up the group. Not including Yi Qing, there were at least 3 Emperor Wu. The others were all blue-robed emperor experts. There were also many peak consummation blue-robed emperors with souls condensed in their heavenly seal. Aside from these, there were also many strong grandmaster-level martial sages standing on the war chariots waiting in the air. They controlled the war chariots into battle formations, enough to pose a threat to Emperor Wu. Chapter 1085. With such a grand lineup, it could be seen that the Yi clan's attention to this operation had reached an extremely high standard. "Father, wait a moment." Seeing that Yi Qing was about to board the war chariot, Yi Chen pushed Xiao Chen forward and said, "Bring us along. Xiao Chen is somewhat proficient in seeking dragons and fixing veins." Shock flashed in Yi Qing's eyes. Then, he turned to Xiao Chen and asked, "Little friend, you really know how to seek dragons and fix veins?" "Pumph. Now, everyone dares to call themselves a geomaster? You inexperienced brat, yet you dare to speak such nonsense. How come I have never heard of a geomaster clan with the surname Xiao?" Just as Xiao Chen was about to deny it, a rude voice rang out. When he looked over, The one who spoke was an old man dressed in ancient attire. This should be a geomaster that the Yi clan invited. Yi Feng introduced apologetically, "This is Senior Yuan Qinghuan. He has been a geomaster for 100 years. Senior Yuan, this is Xiaochen, an honored guest of my Yi clan." When Yuan Qinghuan heard Yi Feng's introduction that Xiaochen was an honored guest of the Yi clan, his tone softened. Then, he said with a cold expression, "Since he is an honored guest of the Yi clan, I can't be bothered to say more. However, don't just casually say that you know how to seek dragons and fix veins. That is an insult to our profession. You are just a mediocre geomaster. Why are you spouting so much nonsense?" Yi Chen immediately lost his temper. Xiaochen pulled Yi Qing back and said apologetically to Yi Qing, "This junior is only slightly interested in seeking dragons and fixing veins. I can't be considered to understand it, much less be proficient in it. I'm just going to take a look." Yi Qing smiled and said, "It's fine. Let's go and take a look, then. Feng, prepare a war chariot for them. Come, let's depart now." The group of people rode on the war chariot, looking like celestial soldiers and generals. On the war chariot that Yi Feng and the others were on, Yi Chen was still brooding. He scolded, "This old fellow is not capable himself, yet he is putting on airs. If not for father stopping me, I would have beaten him up." Yi Feng frowned and said, "Don't be rash. He is already the strongest geomaster I can hire. He has experience subduing 10 superior spirit veins." Ziying interrupted, "However, I heard that Jiang Tian once helped an immortal holy land subdue a king's spirit vein." Yi Feng's expression turned somewhat unsightly. He said helplessly, "Father no longer holds much hope for us to subdue this unknown spirit vein. It is unavoidable for the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor to grow stronger. We can only think of other countermeasures." Yi Chen asked out of curiosity, "What countermeasures?" Yi Feng remained silent for a while before saying, "If there really is a king's spirit vein hidden in the dragon cave this time, then we should advance to Sovereign Martial Emperor." "That's too risky," Yi Chen exclaimed. "There is nothing we can do about it. Once the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor obtains the king's spirit vein, they will definitely surpass our Yi family and become the new alliance chief." The war chariot fell silent. Yi Chen pulled Xiaochen to the side and whispered, "Xiaochen, can you tell me if you know how to seek dragons and fix veins? The sovereign tribulation is already very dangerous. Advancing it in advance will increase the danger significantly." Xiaochen understood Yi Chen's feelings. After a while, he said, "I can only promise you that if it really is a king's spirit vein, I can make it so that no one can obtain it. In terms of seeking dragons and fixing veins, I am still too inexperienced compared to those veteran geomasters." Yi Chen smiled and said, "That is all I need to hear." Xiaochen did not know what danger he would face if he exposed the Yuan clan's dragon-seeking art. However, for the sake of this friend before him, he could only ignore the danger. The chariot soon left the cloud-soaring island. After flying for half a day on the surface of the sea, they stopped on a sea that was clearly unusual and densely covered with barren mountains. Up above, there were already people from many factions gathered together. Every faction's lineup was only slightly weaker than the Yi clans. This was Xiaochen's first time seeing so many Emperor Wus. The atmosphere in the air was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. Xiaochen withdrew his thoughts and carefully sized up the situation below. The entire sea covered an area of more than 5,000 kilometers. There were many mountains at the bottom of the sea in the south. Only the tip of the iceberg could be seen, stretching out endlessly. Xiaochen counted carefully. There was a total of 18 mountains at the bottom of the sea, which startled him. While the peaks of the mountains above the water were no more than a kilometer tall, if one counted the mountains hidden under the water, they would be ridiculously huge. When seeking dragons and fixing veins, the first thing one needed to do was to look for the mountains and rivers, the ferocious beasts in the south. With such huge mountains and 18 of them, Xiaochen did not dare to imagine how many horrifying ferocious beasts were hidden in the dragon caves. Then Xiaochen looked to the north. There were hundreds of small islands just emerging from the surface of the sea. The north and south corresponded. The ferocious beasts in the south eyed each other with malicious intent. The dragon guards in the north guarded the side, blocking all evil. There were more than 100 dragon guards. Xiao Qin was shocked again. No wonder the various factions sent out such a large lineup. There might really be a king's spirit vein hidden in this dragon cave. Of course, Xiao Qin could not come to a conclusion too accurately. The third segment of the Paradise Secret Canon, The 100 Changes of the Heavenly Mysteries, introduced the existence of many fake dragon caves. Unfortunately, it was not convenient for Xiao Qin to open his heavenly eye. Otherwise, he would be able to obtain more useful information. It was not easy to make a concrete judgment just by looking at the surface of the sea. Xiao Qin looked up and frowned slightly. The sky was not dark yet, and he could not see the starry heavens clearly. This was a headache. Did you see anything? Yi Chen asked anxiously. Xiao Qin shook his head and remained silent. Yi Feng turned his head and said, "There is an alliance warship over there. Father is calling us over." Xiao Qin turned his head to look. The leaders of the various factions led the geomasters of their factions on a very large warship, continuously flying over. "Let's go!" The four flew to the deck. The deck was astonishingly vast. It was flat and boundlessly vast. Xiao Qin felt like he was on an aircraft carrier that he had only seen on television in his previous life. However, the warship they were on was much more powerful than an aircraft carrier. They were not on the same level. A tall platform was erected on the deck. Yi Qing sat on the throne on the platform. His followers, Emperor Wu, stood on either side. On his right was the geomaster Yuan Qinghuan. The leaders of the various factions stood on both sides of the deck with their geomasters. The gazes of the various major characters filled with curiosity as they looked at Xiao Qin. Although this junior was not as strong as Emperor Wu and was rather far from their circle, they had heard of his name long ago. Yi Qing smiled and pointed behind him, indicating for Xiao Qin and the others to just stand there and not speak. "Alliance Chief Yi, can we begin the first step? The geomasters of our factions have been preparing for a long time already," an old man asked with an excited expression. Although the other leaders did not say anything, they clearly could not wait any longer. Yi Qing said, "Let's wait for a while. The Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's brother Shi is not here yet. There is no rush to check the earth vein for now." Brother Yi is really generous. Fellow Taoists, Shi Tianyu is late. Sorry about that. Amid loud laughter, a middle-aged man with an aura no weaker than Yi Qing's landed on the deck with the strongest geomaster of the heavenly starry ocean, Jiang Tian, his son Shi Feng, and a few Emperor Wu's followers. Xiao Qin, who was standing behind Yi Qing, felt a gaze. He looked up and saw Shi Feng looking at him provocatively. Yi Qing said, "Let's begin. Since Brother Shi is here." Shi Tianyu waved his hand domineeringly and smiled. "Checking the earth vein is just a small matter. There is no need for so many geomasters to work together. Old Mr. Jiang alone is sufficient." The others could not help feeling angry. From the very start, this Shi Tianyu intended to exclude the others and monopolize this spirit vein. Yi Qing felt upset as well. This Shi Tianyu did not give any face to him, the alliance chief, at all, not taking his words seriously at all. However, even if Yi Qing was upset, he had to endure it. Who asked the other party to invite Jiang Tian, the strongest geomaster of the heavenly starry ocean? Shi Tianyu ignored Yi Qing and said calmly, "Old brother Jiang, sorry to trouble you." Jiang Tian nodded and slowly walked to the railing at the side. The people of the other factions quickly crowded over, wanting to see what would happen next. They saw the old man with the family name Jiang wave his hand and point to the sky. The clouds slowly parted like curtains on a stage, revealing a vast and boundless starry heavens with radiance. Jiang Tian waved his right hand, and a black flag appeared. Then he casually tossed it into the air. The flag transformed into 81 flags and stabbed into the water. In that instant, the surface of the sea turned transparent, allowing everyone to see the situation at the bottom of the sea clearly. The Jiang clan's worldly wind and water flags are indeed extraordinary. When many of the geomasters saw this scene, they all felt admiration for Jiang Tian. Although they were upset that Jiang Tian managed to suppress all of them by himself, They truly admired his strength. Xiao Chen quickly walked over to the railing and looked at the bottom of the sea. After a while, his expression changed slightly. Then, he raised his head and looked at the boundless starry heavens. Xiao Chen's expression changed completely. This was a chain of dragon caves. It was hard to tell the real from the fake. Perhaps there was an evil dragon hidden here. This was a very ominous situation that could kill Emperor Wu. 9 stars ceiling dragon. Tanlang, Juman, Luzuan, Wenxiu, Lianjun, Wuxiu, Pejuan, left minister, and right minister. All 9 stars are present. This is my first time seeing such a situation. There might be a king spirit vein hidden here. Even if it is not a king spirit vein, it should be a peak holy spirit vein. Yuan Qinghuan, the geomaster hired by the Yi clan, immediately cried out excitedly when he saw the situation at the bottom of the sea, feeling extremely shocked. Yi Chen asked with a smile, "Can Mr. subdue and suppress it?" Yuan Qinghuan felt stifled. How could he have the ability to subdue Xiao Chen? Even if the other geomasters were not around, it would be hard for him to deal with this alone. Furthermore, there were so many geomasters, especially with Jiang Tian present. No matter what, it would not be Xiao Chen's turn. He turned around and said angrily, "Go ahead if you can." Yi Qing frowned slightly and said sullenly, "Mister, just tell me the truth. How likely are you to subdue this dragon cave? How confident are you in fighting with the other geomasters?" Before a major character like Yi Qing, Yuan Qinghuan did not dare to be impudent. He stammered, Actually, I'm not afraid to speak the truth. All the geomasters in the heavenly starry ocean who can compete with Jiang Tian are either dead, in seclusion, or consecrated by an immortal holy land. There is no geomaster here who can stop him." Chapter 1086. It is not just this old man whose chances are slim. The other geomasters' chances are slim as well. We can only see if we can find an opportunity to fish in troubled waters. Seeing Yi Qing's unfriendly expression, Yuan Qinghuan continued, "Well, this old man can't come here for nothing. Usually, when I travel around the world, I found several dragon caves with top-grade spirit veins. As long as Alliance leader sends a few blue-robed emperors to follow me, after this, I will help Alliance leader Yi find a few supreme-grade spirit veins." Although a peak spirit vein was precious, how could it compare to a king spirit vein? Yi Qing did not have any interest in it. He looked at the transparent seawater below and waved his hand. "We'll talk about it later." As Jiang Tian moved his hands, the worldly wind water banner illuminated the situation under the sea. Some of the mountains shrouded in fog could be seen clearly. As the various geomasters observed the earth veins, they could not help sighing. Occasionally, Yi Chen heard something about the 9 stars locking dragon. A great dragon would definitely appear in an auspicious place. He went to take a look, but he couldn't see anything. The bottom of the sea was full of messy mountains and precipitous ridges. There were no stars or dragons. He could not help asking anxiously, "Xiao Chen, what is the 9-star locking dragon?" Xiao Chen was looking up at the celestial phenomena. He withdrew his gaze and answered, "The 9 stars are the 9 stars in the sky." In the terminology of dragon seeking, it refers to the mountain peaks named after these stars. They usually appear around dragon caves. Among the 9 stars, there are 3 great auspicious stars. They are Tanlang, Juman, and Wuxiu. Normally, there is only one great auspicious star in a dragon cave, and the quality of the spirit vein will be higher. If there are 3 auspicious stars, it will be amazing. The left minister's and right minister's star peaks are small auspicious stars. They appear the most, and the spirit veins with them are of superior quality. If there aren't even small auspicious stars, even if there is a saint-grade spirit vein, the quality would be average. Ziying, who was listening attentively at the side, interrupted, "If there are auspicious stars, there must be ominous stars. According to what you said, Pejuan, Lianjun, Lu Xiun, and Wenxiu are the 4 ominous stars." Xiao Chen raised his head and glanced at him. He smiled and said, "You got it right away." "You're right." Yi Chen asked curiously, "When the 9 stars gather, there are auspicious stars and inauspicious stars. Why do so many geomasters say that it is auspicious and ignore the inauspicious stars? Xiao Chen looked up at the starry sky and said with a double meaning, "This is the ingenuity of feng shui. Look at the 4 inauspicious star peaks. They are all lower than the 3 auspicious stars. Compared to the 2 little Ji Xingfeng, they are even shorter. This way, the aura of the ominous star will be completely suppressed. Not only will it be unable to display its might, but it will also allow the Ji Xingfeng to use its momentum to strengthen itself, forming the rarely seen 9 stars sealing dragon." Not far away, Yi Qing heard Xiao Chen's discussion and said to Yuan Qinghuan, "Mr. Yuan, is what little friend Xiao Chen said right?" Yuan Qinghuan was a little embarrassed. After a while, he said, almost, but he still wanted to say something but found that Yi Qing, with a trace of a smile, had already strode over to Xiao Chen. Unexpectedly, little friend has such an understanding of seeking dragons and fixing veins, Yi Qing said with a smile as he walked over. Xiao Chen whispered, "It is just a superficial knowledge. Compared to the geomasters here, I am still far from it." Yi Qing did not think so. He said, "There is no need to be humble. If you really know how to seek dragons and fix veins, my Yi clan will have many opportunities to work with you in the future." Alliance Chief, Shi Tianyu, is calling everyone over. He says that it is about time to prepare to wash the sea. Just as Shi Tianyu was about to say more, Yi Qing heard a report. He smiled apologetically and led the 4 Emperor Wu and Jiang Tian over to where Shi Tianyu was. Washing the sea was to clear out the seawater and leave an empty space. Although the various factions fought among themselves, no matter who obtained the spirit vein, it would strengthen the Northern Sea Alliance. Washing the sea definitely needed to be done together. The leaders of the 10 factions of the Northern Sea Alliance gathered at where Jiang Tian was, preparing to clear out the seawater at any time to facilitate fixing the veins. "Old brother Jiang, can we begin?" Shi Tianyu asked somewhat impatiently when he saw that Jiang Tian had already thoroughly explored the veins at the bottom of the sea. Jiang Tian shook his head and said, "There is no rush. Let me take a look at the celestial phenomenon first." When the other geomasters heard this, they could not help revealing envious expressions. Not all geomasters knew the lost ancient stargazing technique. When Xiao Chen, who was standing far away on the deck, heard this, he took advantage of the fact that the many geomasters and cultivators were all gathered around Jiang Tian to sneak to an unnoticed corner. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and formed hand seals. The magic energy in his sea of consciousness burned continuously as he executed the magic skill, Starry Heaven Storm. Xiao Chen was not truly going to unleash Starry Heaven Storm. Instead, he wanted to use this magic skill to blur the original celestial phenomenon, covering up the light of the stars and disrupting Jiang Tian's observation. Sweat poured off Xiao Chen's forehead like rain. The originally abundant magic energy in his sea of consciousness drained like a flash flood. Soon most of it vanished. Jiang Tian did not care. After he clearly saw the 9 stars sealing the dragon below, he was already certain that this was a very auspicious dragon cave of extremely high quality. Observing the celestial phenomenon was just a habit. After taking a few glances and not noticing anything strange, Jiang Tian said, "That's enough. Do you see my worldly wind-water banner? Drain all the seawater where the worldly wind-water banner is." At that time, everyone, let's see who can subdue this dragon based on our own abilities. That way we can avoid harming our friendships. The other geomasters laughed in embarrassment at Jiang Tian's last sentence. "Who can compare to you, Jiang Tian?" His words were as good as not saying anything at all. Yi Qing, Shi Tianyu, and the others turned around and appeared on the surface of the sea as if they teleported. With a shout, the 10 made their move at the same time, raising their right palms to the sky. A loud rumble rang out, sounding like thunder. A shocking scene appeared. Under the might of the 10 greater heavenly Emperor Wu, the seawater split into 10 portions like the ground. Each greater heavenly emperor controlled a portion, lifting up the vast seawater like it was a mountain. After that, the greater heavenly emperors casually tossed the vast seawater into the distance and landed on the surface of the sea thousands of kilometers away. The resulting tremors made one's heart pound heavily, deafening. The somewhat pale Xiaochen walked to the side of the deck and looked at the vast sea below. Someone had dug out a large hole the size of Lingyun Island. Xiaochen could not help but feel shocked. The strength of the greater heavenly Emperor Wu was truly incredible. If he had not seen it for himself, he would never be able to imagine how strong these people were. Shi Tianyu's group suspended the seawater in the air. The various geomasters did not remain idle, either. They all took out their own dragon-seeking secret treasures and blocked off the seawater. Jiang Tian immediately descended and headed for the core of the 9 stars sealing the dragon. The other geomasters quickly followed, their expressions extremely grave. The other lesser heavenly Emperor Wu and the blue-robed emperor also stored up power and flew down like sharp arrows. Then, the 10 geomasters landed on the 9-star peaks one after another, preparing to open the dragon cave. The mystery that had troubled everyone for a long time, what grade of spirit vein was hidden in the dragon cave, was about to be revealed. At this moment, everyone's gazes landed on the dragon cave sealed by the 9 stars. Only Xiaochen raised his head and looked at the starry heavens. At some point in time, the 4 ominous stars, Pejuan, Lianjun, Luzuan, and Wenxiu, had become extremely bright. As for the 5 auspicious stars, Tanlang, Juman, Wuxiu, Left Minister and Right Minister, they were all dim and dismal. Not many people could recognize the 9 stars. Furthermore, the starry heavens were vast, with countless stars. Probably only Jiang Tian, whose attention was no longer on the starry heavens, could make out the reason behind the dazzling starlight. Good or bad luck was hard to determine. There was no such thing as an unchanging landscape in geomancy. Aside from Jiang Tian, who hovered above the dragon cave, the other geomasters stood on the 9-star peaks, each holding a dragon-seeking secret treasure. A tense and excited atmosphere filled every corner of the grand scene. Everyone had a grave expression on their faces. Jiang Tian was the first to make a move. He raised his hand, and cracks appeared on the seabed. Multicolored lights spewed out from them. The other geomasters executed their various means, preparing to force out the spirit vein hidden in the dragon cave in one go. The multicolored lights flickered and turned into 9 beams of light before stopping. Dense spiritual energy filled the world, causing a colorful spiritual rain to fall. Splash! Splash! The rain did not stop. After the spiritual rain permeated the huge pits in the sea and every patch of mud, it gave off a vibrant life force. Everyone could feel the pure spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the raindrops, and they were wild with joy. 9-colored multicolored light. This is a king spirit vein. Everyone was shocked. Although they had expected this, when they personally saw the 9-colored multicolored light and the 9-colored spiritual rain, the shock in everyone's heart was indescribable. How rare was a king spirit vein? It was one of the standards of a holy land strength. A sect without a king spirit vein could not be considered a holy land, no matter how strong it was. It was just like how the 9 ranks of the great families needed a holy spirit vein. The leaders of the 10 major forces were all gathered on the 18 mountains in the south, each of which was 100,000 meters tall. When they saw this 9-colored multicolored light, their expressions turned somewhat complicated. The Seoul Hegemon mountain manners Shi Tianyu smiled and said, "Brother Yi, with this king spirit vein, the Northern Sea Alliance will definitely become stronger. In the future, you will no longer have to work so hard. You can rest well." There was a hidden meaning in Shi Tianyu's words. The ambition of a wolf was clear. How could Yi Qing not understand? He said coldly, "Brother Shi, you are really considerate. However, it is still too early to say this." Shi Tianyu laughed maniacally and said, "Early? I don't believe that with Mr. Jiang here, no one will have a chance to snatch away this king spirit vein. The two of you, let's not argue for now. Subduing a king spirit vein is of great importance. Even with Jiang Tian here, we cannot make any mistakes. Otherwise, it will be a loss for the entire Northern Sea Alliance." One of the older elders among the 10 reminded them when he saw that the atmosphere between the two of them was filled with hostility. When the two heard that, they snorted coldly and did not say anything more. Suddenly, Yi Qing frowned and stretched out his finger to wipe off the spiritual rain on his forehead. Then, his pupils constricted, and shock flashed in his eyes. The spiritual rain on Yi Qing's finger was actually scarlet. When Yi Qing looked up, his expression changed drastically. The 9-colored spiritual rain vanished. In its place, a blood rain fell in the sky. It was cold and emotionless, giving off an evil and strange aura. Chapter 1087. Blood Rain. Why is there a blood rain? Horror flashed in the eyes of the many cultivators on the deck. They had never seen such a vast blood rain in their lives. The many geomasters on the 9-star peak paled, their faces drained of all color. Their bodies trembled slightly. Blood rain falling from the sky, no light for 500 kilometers around. What an ominous situation! How can it be like this? The 3 great auspicious stars are suppressing the 4 great inauspicious stars, using their momentum to form the 9 stars sealing the dragon. This is clearly an auspicious land. Why is there such an ominous sign? Jiang Tian's expression turned grave as he looked at the sky. He saw that the 9 stars, including the Tanlang star, had already formed a line in the pitch-black starry heavens. It was like a beam of scarlet light had connected the 9 stars. Linked by blood, 9-star alignment. Jiang Tian's heart trembled. Damn it! Why did I only discover such a celestial phenomenon now? If I had discovered it earlier, I would not have been so rash. I could have thought of other ways to subdue this spirit vein. Now that I blindly opened the acupoints, the scarlet light appeared, and the 9-star alignment formed. It was too late. Without saying another word, he turned around and ran. He got up and flew back, and his face was filled with panic. Now that Jiang Tian had left, how could the other geomasters dare to continue opening their acupoints? They quickly followed, fleeing in the air. A deafening rumble echoed through the world. In the south, the 18 mountains that stretched for thousands of miles and were tens of thousands of feet tall were completely shattered one after another, without holding anything back. Surging shock waves surged out. Even though the warship Shaochen was tens of thousands of meters away, the shock waves still caused it to sway left and right. The roar resounded, and the sound waves shook space. It was like a voice from hell. The huge warship could no longer hold out, and it collapsed. Shaochen quickly took out his small silver boat and boarded Ziying, Yi Chen, and Yi Feng. Then he flew far away at lightning speed. What was that? Yi Feng was in disbelief. Just the roar alone had shattered the sturdy royal-grade warship from before. The blood rain continued to fall without end. Shaochen stood at the bow of the warship, unable to answer Yi Feng's question. There had to be ferocious beasts hidden in the southern mountains of the Dragon Cave. This was the reason why regular geomasters could not subdue spirit veins by themselves. They could not deal with ferocious beasts. For example, this time around, the 10 greater celestial Emperor Wu of the North Sea Alliance had been deployed on the ominous mountain. However, the situation was not looking too optimistic. When Shaochen collected the advanced spirit vein, a ferocious beast comparable to a Grand Master jumped out. No one could guess what kind of ferocious beasts were hidden in these 18 incomparably huge mountain ranges. In this sky full of blood rain, what kind of terrifying combat power would it erupt with? Only from the fact that even 10 greater celestial Emperor Wu couldn't take care of this group of beasts so quickly, could he tell a thing or two about it. The entire ocean crater was in complete chaos, and the terrain had completely changed. Hundreds of mountains in the north rose up from the ground and shot towards the fleeing geomasters. These mountains were much larger than the ones Shaochen had faced in the past. Even the blue-robed emperor did not dare to underestimate the power of these mountains. If he were to face them head-on, he would be heavily injured. Fortunately, the North Sea Alliance had made a lot of preparations this time. They brought several blue-robed emperors to help the 10 geomasters block the many mountains. Quickly, this is a great ominous land with a powerful ferocious dragon hidden. The many geomasters shouted as they ran. The vast group did not even bother to wipe off the blood rain that covered them as they fled. After the geomasters left, the seawater, which had been blocked by the barriers earlier, crashed down with the sound of the waves. It felt like the sky was shattering. The scene was incredibly majestic. The huge crater filled up, and the seawater closed up once more. The cultivators of the North Sea Alliance who had escaped all felt fear in their hearts. The earlier moment was no more than 10 breaths of time. However, it felt like a lifetime had passed. The sea churned endlessly, and the seawater turned scarlet. None of the Emperor Wu came out, still fighting with the mysterious ferocious beasts at the bottom of the sea. The group felt very nervous. They did not know what kind of group of ferocious beasts this was. 10 greater Celestial Emperor Wu and many lesser Celestial Emperor Wu working together could not deal with them. Plop! Yi Qing flew out of the water amid a splash. The 4 lesser Celestial Emperor Wu following behind him were covered in wounds. Yi Qing looked around and saw Shao Chen and the others. Then he stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion. A strong suction came out, and the small silver warship flew over. Without saying anything, Yi Qing sent out a palm strike and tore space apart. Then he led the others into the crack. The figures of the Yi clan's blue-robed emperor experts all flashed in. The leaders of the other factions appeared one after another with Emperor Wu. They all had fatigued expressions and did not say anything. Then, they tore space apart and led the people of their factions, preparing to flee far away. Everyone's hearts were filled with questions. What kind of existence made the greater Celestial Emperor Wu so anxious, not willing to stay a moment longer? The instant the spatial crack closed, Shao Chen vaguely saw a scarlet dragon claw poke out of the water and tear space apart, tearing apart countless war chariots and warships. Fortunately, the blue-robed emperor cultivators above had all retreated. Otherwise, no one would have survived this claw. When the Yi clan's group reappeared, they were already in the sky above Lingyun Island. Yi Qing heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he said sullenly, unexpectedly, there is a mutated evil dragon with a king's spirit vein hidden in the dragon cave. To think that Jiang Tian did not discover it and rashly opened the dragon cave without any preparations. It looks like he does not live up to his reputation. Yi Feng exclaimed in shock. Father, what do you mean by that? Yi Qing smiled and said, that is to say, no one can obtain this king's spirit vein now. If that group of people from the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor want to target my Yi clan, they will have to think twice before doing so. As Yi Qing spoke, a spatial crack opened. Shi Tianyu, who had an unlucky expression, appeared with the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's people. Shi Tianyu happened to see Yi Qing smile and could not help but rage. He felt extremely upset, so he snorted coldly and led his people away. Yi Chen smiled and said, in that case, we have to celebrate. That group of people from the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor thought that by inviting Jiang Tian, they would gain a lot no matter what. They are really sullen now. Yi Qing nodded and said, there is no need to celebrate. After this matter, it is time for me to enter closed-door cultivation. Such lucky things cannot happen all the time. Only by advancing to Sovereign Martial Emperor can the Yi clan maintain its position. Shao Chen smiled gently at the side. The obstruction of the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's plan would give Yi Qing a long buffer time to break through to Sovereign Martial Emperor. Shao Chen had fulfilled his promise to Yi Chen, so it was time for him to do his own things. Yi Qing and the others tried to get Shao Chen to stay. However, when they saw that he had made up his mind, they did not say anything more. As Yi Qing watched Shao Chen leave, he entered deep thought. He kept feeling that Shao Chen appeared too calm. Something was not right. Shao Chen did not truly leave. One night later, when the morning sun rose, he appeared in an ominous land, a place where even Emperor Wu did not dare to linger. As he looked at the scarlet sea below him, Shao Chen took out the Paradise Secret Canon and carefully searched through the third segment of the 100 Changes of Heavenly Mysteries. Shao Chen had discovered long ago that this dragon vein was not simple. However, there were too many people here, preventing him from displaying it. The underground had always been a place with the densest yin-attributed qi. Normally, the things buried underground were covered in yin-attributed qi. If one was not careful, they could mutate into something evil. If this turned into a great ominous land, the evil that came out would be even more incredible. However, no matter how well a mutated and corrupted spirit vein hid, there would always be traces of it. The dragon vein before Xiaoqun hid it very well, nearly fooling most geomasters. Just from the landscape of the earth vein, few could tell that this was a dangerous land. Only by combining the stars would one be able to tell. If not for the Paradise secret canon that Xiaoqun grasped, which was far superior to the geomaster's dragon-seeking arts, he would not have been able to find any traces of it. Even with Xiaoqun's current level, he would not have been able to find any traces of it. I found it. With the blood linking, the 9 stars linking. The 9 stars sealing the dragon will turn into the blood berserk dragon formation. If one blindly opens the blood berserk dragon formation, there will be a rain of blood, which will multiply the strength of the nearby ferocious beasts. When the evil dragon comes out, it will flee far away, and it will be hard to find. Xiaoqun rejoiced in his heart. Indeed, that was the case. He knew that the Paradise secret canon would have records of this. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiaoqun continued reading. His main concern was whether he could find the evil dragon that came out or not. Xiaoqun continued reading without missing a single word. Finally, he found some clues. The evil dragon in this formation would come out prematurely. There was only one choice. That was to swallow up the other spirit veins and find another dragon vein. Otherwise, this king spirit vein that had lost its safe place would slowly wither day by day. Its rank would drop continuously until it disappeared. After reading up to this point, Xiaoqun entered deep thought. This gave him an opportunity. When the evil dragon found a new dragon vein, it would definitely fight with the new dragon. When the 2 dragons fought, no matter who won, it would end up in a sorry state. Xiaoqun thought about how the Northern Sea Alliance could not subdue this evil dragon with such a large force. Instead, they suffered heavy casualties and had to retreat in sorry states. Even if Xiaoqun ran into an evil dragon now, he would have to retreat. Xiaoqun thought about the scene he saw when he entered the void. The scene of a towering blood claw breaking out of the sea and sweeping through the surroundings still made him tremble in fear. Searching for the evil dragon was just a mark for himself. When he grew stronger in the future, he would come back to subdue this king spirit vein. A king spirit vein was not something that could be found on a whim. As Xiaoqun continued reading, a clue that caught his attention appeared. The dragon vein that hid a king spirit vein would definitely form a small ancestral vein. As the ancestral vein continued to develop, a series of spirit veins would appear, ranging from high to low, from holy spirit vein to the lowest spirit vein. Not to mention the low-grade spirit vein, the holy spirit vein was already sufficient to attract Xiaoqun's attention. As for how to find this dragon vein in the ancestral vein, that would depend on Xiaoqun's own ability. After putting away the jade strip, Xiaoqun opened his heavenly eye. A strange purple eye appeared, clearly seeing the situation at the bottom of the sea. The terrain of the dragon vein was already utterly destroyed. The 9 astral peaks crumbled, and scarlet bubbles continuously leaked out of the cracks in the ground. I cannot see the ancestral vein's direction like this. I have to go down. Xiaoqun closed his heavenly eye and prepared to go down. Xiaoqun, it is best not to go down first. This place feels strange. Chapter 1088. Ao Jiao flew out of the immortal spirit ring, frowning as she tried to persuade Xiaoqun. Xiaoqun turned around and looked at Ao Jiao. Then, he raised his eyebrows and asked doubtfully, "Little Ao Jiao, why do you look different?" This was the first time Xiaoqun saw Ao Jiao after consuming and refining the azure underworld fruit. There were no changes to Ao Jiao's appearance, demeanor, or figure. However, Xiaoqun felt that there was something that he had not noticed. Was he imagining things? Ao Jiao smiled faintly and stretched out her hand, indicating for Xiaoqun to take it. Xiaoqun reached out and grabbed it. Her skin was smooth and soft, even giving off a faint warmth. Xiaoqun's heart skipped a beat. Warmth? What's going on? It is indeed warmth. Ao Jiao is an item spirit. How can she have warmth? That is inexplicable. I didn't tell you to hold it so hard, Ao Jiao said coquettishly. Xiaoqun quickly let go. After apologizing, he asked, "What's going on?" The azure underworld fruit has such an effect? Ao Jiao said, "Do you still remember that old man in the Blue Dragon Palace?" "That's right, the item spirit of the Blue Dragon Palace? He used a finger to send me away. After I woke up, my body has been slowly changing." Xiaochen recalled that there was indeed such a scene. Back then, that old item spirit seemed to have said that when Ao Jiao woke up, she would properly thank him. What exactly are the changes? Ao Jiao's eyes flickered with confusion. She shook her head and said, "I don't know what the changes are either. However, I can clearly feel that I can cultivate on my own. This is even more obvious after I revived. The mutated fruit that nourishes the soul can allow my strength to increase significantly. As for what happens after that, you can see for yourself. As for what will happen in the future, I don't know either." Xiaochen thought for a while and said, "Since that old man from the Blue Dragon Palace did this, it should not be a bad thing. After I become a martial emperor in the future, I will ask him personally and understand." "Alright, I'll go with you. I'm strong enough to face the advanced blue-robed emperor now." Ao Jiao nodded. What? Golden light flickered, and little yellow feather flaunted its prowess as it appeared. It squeaked, indicating that it also wanted to go down. Xiaochen smiled and said, "The two of you are not allowed to come out. I will go down alone. If there is any danger, I can use the freedom wings to flee quickly." "But, no buts. Just listen to me, okay?" The danger below was unpredictable and Xiaochen did not want Ao Jiao to take the risk, especially now. Ao Jiao felt helpless. She hugged little yellow feather and said, "All right, I'll listen to you. If there is any danger, remember to leave immediately. Don't worry. It should be fine." The ferocious beasts already followed the evil dragons far away or went to search for new spirit veins. Furthermore, I still have the life-saving plume feather that little yellow feather gave me. Xiaochen smiled faintly. After Ao Jiao and little yellow feather entered the immortal spirit ring, he took a deep breath and entered this vast scarlet sea. Xiaochen quickly descended to where the dragon cave was. Then he looked into the distance, carefully observing and searching the messy and dilapidated landscape. As long as the direction of the ancestral vein's origin followed, he would be able to find the Holy Spirit vein that existed in the ancestral vein. After subduing this Holy Spirit vein and searching for the fleeing evil dragons, as long as the plan went smoothly, Xiaochen would gain a lot. At the very least, he would be able to break through to the small perfection blue-robed emperor immediately. The tall mountains and the ground were all destroyed. After searching for a long time, Xiaochen could not find the ancestral vein's origin. However, he did find several traces of the evil dragons leaving. Half a day later, Xiaochen opened his heavenly eye again. The landscape was the most intact on a slope 50 kilometers to the east. It should be easier to find some things there. Xiaochen pushed off with his feet and flew in the water. His strong speed nearly split the seawater in half, creating a vacuum. When Xiaochen landed on the slope, he looked ahead. To others, the terrain appeared chaotic and confusing. However, when he compared it to the Paradise Secret Canon, many scenes flashed in his mind. As Xiaochen looked around, the scenes slowly became clearer and more complete. That should be the place, Xiaochen said softly as he used his heavenly eye to look at the terrain tens of thousands of kilometers away. A dragon returning to its head, 1,000 mountains surrounding it, and evidence from all directions. Finding the ancestral vein's origin in a situation where the terrain was nearly completely destroyed was not easy. Xiaochen closed his heavenly eye, intending to go over and verify it one last time. Then, he could follow the vein and find the Holy Spirit vein that grew from this ancestral vein. As for spirit veins of other grades, they did not interest Xiaochen for now, so there was no need to waste any effort. Rumble. Just at this moment, a strange phenomenon occurred. Countless blood-colored bubbles surged upwards. Xiaochen's heart tightened as an extremely bad feeling welled up in his heart. A strange roar came from the distance. Xiaochen's body trembled uncontrollably as if he had met his natural enemy. A bone-deep fear prevented him from doing anything. How can it be like this? What's going on? What in the world is coming? Xiaochen panicked. It was extremely difficult for him to do anything. He could not even lift his eyelids, much less activate the freedom wings. Xiao Qun knelt at the bottom of the sea as that mysterious monster approached. He felt that if he still did not do anything, he would really die here. Ao Jiao quickly flew out and pulled Xiao Qun away, preparing to break out of the water with Xiao Qun. If you don't want him to die, it's best not to move. Just as Ao Jiao was about to circulate her energy to bring Xiao Qun away, an old man suddenly appeared. He formed hand seals and many flags flew out from his body. The flags covered the heavenly mysteries and protected this world. Rumble! Rumble! The scarlet bubbles surged up even more violently. The entire Scarlet Sea was surging, looking extremely horrifying. When that mysterious thing arrived, Xiao Qun felt like the little blue dragon in his dantian was carrying a mountain. The pressure was extremely painful. Xiao Qun felt even more miserable. This was his first time encountering such a thing. He was shocked. After the panic, he tried his best to calm himself down. What exactly is it that makes my body tremble in fear, making the Yuanying blue dragon martial spirit tremble in fear? I have to get to the bottom of this. Otherwise, it will be a huge problem for me. Xiao Qun felt like that mysterious thing circled the Scarlet Sea for a long time, like it was searching for something. After a long time, it quickly went far away. When everything calmed down, Xiao Qun blinked and recovered to normal. Then, he turned around and looked warily at the person who saved him. When Xiao Qun saw this person's appearance, he felt somewhat surprised. It was actually the Geomaster that the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor invited, Jiang Tian, the person that Yuan Qinghuan called the strongest Geomaster. Ao Jiao stood beside Xiao Qun, looking warily at the other party as well. This person had suddenly appeared. She could not figure out his intentions. Jiang Tian ignored the wariness of the two. He carefully put away the worldly wind-water flags and gestured for Xiao Qun to break out of the sea, indicating for him to go out and speak. Waves splashed up as Xiao Qun and Ao Jiao broke out of the sea together. Ao Jiao asked anxiously, "Xiao Qun, are you all right?" Xiao Qun had not suffered any substantial damage earlier, so he shook his head to indicate that he was fine. Ao Jiao checked for herself. After she verified that he was fine, she relaxed. Splash! Jiang Tian broke out of the water and looked coldly at Xiao Qun. He said indifferently, "You managed to cultivate the heavenly eye. It looks like you obtained the Yuan clan's dragon-seeking art. Were you the one who used a spell to disrupt me from looking at the stars yesterday?" This person had a dignified aura. His cultivation was clearly much lower than Xiao Qun's, only Grandmaster-level martial sage. However, when he spoke, he was aloof, looking down on Xiao Qun. He did not care about Xiao Qun, a mere blue-robed emperor. However, this person was very natural, giving Xiao Qun a lot of pressure. This was the natural aura of a major character. No matter how the weak tried to imitate it, they would not be able to imitate it. Xiao Qun nodded calmly. There was nothing to deny. Jiang Tian snorted coldly and said, "You are really daring to do anything. Perhaps I really should not have saved you earlier. It would have been better to let that whole ghost eat you up." Xiao Qun raised his eyebrows and asked, "You know what that thing is?" "There are very few things in this world that I do not know about. That is a Ho, an ancient ferocious beast that feeds on dragons. It eats dragon brains and swallows dragon marrow. Killing dragons is like squashing earthworms. It is the natural enemy of all dragons. 10,000 years ago, if not for the Qing Emperor killing it, leaving behind only a scattered soul, you would have died here even if you had 8 lives." Jiang Tian said unhurriedly with a cold smile on his face. Unexpectedly, dragons had a natural enemy. Furthermore, it was such a tyrannical natural enemy. This was the first time Xiao Qun heard of this. Xiao Qun finally understood why his body trembled in fear, feeling so powerless. He was the Blue Dragon King. He possessed the Blue Dragon martial spirit and cultivated the Blue Dragon body-nourishing art. Whether he was willing or not, the mark of a dragon was deeply ingrained in his bones. He could not wash it off no matter what. Fortunately, the Qing Emperor killed it, leaving only its soul. What did it come here for? Xiao Chen asked as he met Jiang Tian's gaze. He felt that this person before him gave off a mysterious feeling. Indeed, as Jiang Tian said, he was omniscient. Naturally, it smelled a dragon and wanted to eat that 9-star evil dragon to recover its strength, Jiang Tian replied indifferently. Jiang Tian replied indifferently and said in a cold voice, "Since we are done with the small talk, take out the divine grade black patterned gold that you obtained from the auction in Cloud Treasure City." "For this old man saved your life. Do you think it was for nothing?" Xiao Chen was speechless. This was the first time he met such a tyrannical person. He did not seem to have asked for help. However, even if Xiao Chen wanted to, he could not hand over the divine grade black patterned gold. He had already merged it into the dragon revealing mirror. Ao Jiao, who was at the side, could no longer watch this. She scolded angrily, "You old fellow, you are too shameless. How can you do this, forcefully saving someone and then demanding something?" Xiao Chen waved his hand to stop Ao Jiao. Then he took out the dragon revealing mirror, which gave off a divine aura, and handed it to Jiang Tian. "I already used the divine grade black patterned gold. If you want it, you can refine this dragon revealing mirror." Ao Jiao was so anxious that her eyes turned red. The dragon revealing mirror was crucial to whether Xiao Chen could subdue the Holy Spirit vein. How could he just give it away like that? Jiang Tian received the dragon revealing mirror with a slightly dissatisfied expression. He commented, "The craftsmanship is pretty good. This dragon revealing mirror ranks among the top 10 dragon-seeking secret treasures. Unfortunately, I do not know the Paradise Secret Canon, so I cannot activate it. I can only treat it as trash and melt it down. Even so, I can only take out half of the divine grade black patterned gold." Chapter 1089. It's a so. Consider this a pass. There is also the azure underworld fruit. Your soul is not injured. Don't tell me that you used it already. Take it out as well. Xiao Chen's expression changed as he stopped Ao Jiao, who was about to fly into a rage. He said calmly, "I'm sorry about this. I have indeed used it. If old sir has any other requests, you can state them all. I have 10 million black astral coins, a Holy Spirit vein, an Emperor-grade secret treasure, Neptune's crown, an incomplete immortal equipment, the beautiful mountain and river painting." Xiao Chen did not like owing favors, especially to people he did not like. If he could settle things with them, he would do so as soon as possible. Precious treasures came out of Xiao Chen's mouth, but Jiang Tian remained unmoved. He interrupted impatiently, "Don't treat trash as treasure. How laughable. I only want the azure underworld fruit." Xiao Chen's expression changed. Which one of the things in his hand would not make the blue-robed emperor risk his life for it? To think that this fellow was lying through his teeth. Jiang Tian glanced at Ao Jiao. Then, he said in understanding, "So, it was refined by you, the item spirit. No wonder you were unable to hand it over. Looking at your eyes, it seems like you do not feel that your body is full of trash. Country bumpkin, you are looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. I can't be bothered to argue with you. I'll return your dragon revealing mirror. Now, you have to help me with something before you can repay this favor." Xiao Chen did not know what was going on. What exactly was this Jiang Tian thinking? He could not figure it out at all. Xiao Chen did not accept the dragon revealing mirror. He frowned and said, "I do have to repay this favor. However, I still have something to do. Time is limited. If Mr. Jiang keeps pestering me, I can only put this favor aside for now. Goodbye." Jiang Tian smiled coldly and said, "Something to do? Do you think that after learning the half-baked Paradise Secret Canon, you can subdue and suppress spirit veins all over the world to help you gather the resources for the blue-robed emperor to cultivate? Indeed, you have some advantages. You are as strong as the great perfection blue-robed emperor and do not need the cooperation of cultivators to suppress spirit veins. However, if you really think that, you are too naive." Xiao Chen turned around and looked at the other party with a serious expression. "What do you mean?" Jiang Tian smiled and said, "I am certain that you have not finished reading the first part of the Paradise Secret Canon that is not directly related to the dragon-seeking secret technique. Otherwise, you would not ask that. Xiao Chen's heart sank. The contents of the first part were all messy records. It had nothing to do with the dragon-seeking secret skill. He had indeed only read the beginning and skipped over it. It wasn't that he couldn't concentrate, but he didn't have much time. He really couldn't spend it on these unimportant things. Senior, if you have something to say, just say it. Jiang Tian did not answer. Instead, he said with a cold expression, "Pick up your dragon-revealing mirror and obediently follow me to do something. Otherwise, not to mention becoming a martial emperor in 5 years, if you really do as you wish, you might not even live for a year." Ao Jiao muttered in a soft voice, acting all mysterious. Jiang Tian directly ignored her. He looked at the silent Xiao Chen and said, "Do you really want to die that much? Or are you in a rush to subdue a Holy Spirit vein 50,000 kilometers away? It is just a Holy Spirit vein. So what if I give you one?" Golden rain fell from the sky. A roaming dragon flew out of Jiang Tian's body and danced in the air, calling the wind and summoning the rain. This was a bona fide Holy Spirit vein. Xiao Chen made up his mind. He opened his mouth and swallowed this Holy Spirit vein. Then he closed his eyes and refined it. As the Holy Spirit vein was refined, the thousands of motes of liquid that formed the heavenly seal slowly turned corporeal, gaining some texture. It no longer looked as soft as before. The entire dragon-shaped heavenly seal's silhouette became much more solid. Xiao Chen's cultivation had improved significantly. After a while, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and picked up the dragon-revealing mirror on the sea. Then he said to the strange Jiang Tian, "I'll come with you. At least you have some boldness. Otherwise, it would be useless to bring you over. Come with me to meet a few people first." Jiang Tian turned around expressionlessly. Xiao Chen quickly followed and asked, "Who are you meeting?" "A true geomaster." "A true geomaster?" Xiao Chen felt somewhat dizzy. Many geomasters regarded Jiang Tian as the strongest geomaster. After the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor invited him out, all the geomasters lost their fighting spirit. Such a person definitely lived up to his reputation. However, now Jiang Tian said that he wanted to bring Xiao Chen to meet a true geomaster. Could it be that there were stronger geomasters than him? Xiao Chen could not suppress the doubts in his heart. He could not help feeling curious about this strange Jiang Tian, who did not play by the rules. "Senior, aren't you known as the strongest geomaster? Could it be that you are not a true geomaster? Are there people who are stronger than you in seeking dragons and fixing veins?" Jiang Tian mocked. "That group of geomasters only have the title of geomaster. What kind of geomaster are they? They are not even comparable to a half-baked person like you. To think that they are not embarrassed to call themselves geomasters? I never said that I was the strongest geomaster. When we get there later, keep your eyes open and don't speak nonsense. You have no right to speak there." Jiang Tian's words always had a hint of arrogance. Xiao Chen did not feel convinced. However, when he thought about how even the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor's Manor Lord was polite to Jiang Tian, he could not help but feel unconvinced. The other party circle was much higher than Xiao Chen's. Hence, he could only teach Jiang Tian a lesson. Xiao Chen had a proud character, but he was not an ignorant fanatic who showed off his arrogance. He had always been respectful and knew how to endure and learn, carefully walking the path of cultivation. For now, Xiao Chen wanted to see what Jiang Tian was up to. Furthermore, Jiang Tian said earlier that Xiao Chen was too naive. He had to figure out why. Xiao Chen said, "Very well, I won't ask about that. However, I already promised you. Now, you have to tell me what you want to do, right? If you can give me the divine grade black patterned gold and the azure underworld fruit, I won't care where you go. If you can't give them to me, don't ask. Someone will tell you when we get there," Jiang Tian said without even turning his head as he strode forward. "Never mind. If I don't want to ask, then so be it." Xiao Chen followed behind Jiang Tian. At the same time, he took some time to carefully study the 4th section of the Paradise Secret Canon, Prison Drawing. Prison drawing mainly emphasized the practical secret techniques of the Paradise Secret Canon. When cultivated to a high level, one could change the world with a wave of one's hand. If one wanted to cultivate this series of secret techniques, one had to cultivate the Paradise Divine Art first. This cultivation technique was split into 7 layers. The cultivation of the Paradise Divine Art required one's usage of the heavenly eye to reach a certain level. Xiaochen asked himself if he could already control the heavenly eye as he pleased. He could open and close the heavenly eye as he pleased. He could also focus his gaze to see even further away. He could also use the heavenly eye to distinguish between illusion and reality. Xiaochen should have already met the cultivation requirements of the Paradise Divine Art. It was time to make preparations to cultivate it. Jiang Tian, who was walking in front, turned his head back and saw that Xiaochen did not relax even as he walked. It seemed like Xiaochen was making good use of his time to cultivate. No matter how much Jiang Tian looked down on Xiaochen, it was rare for someone of the younger generation to have such patience and perseverance. After walking for half a day, a lone island appeared before Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian immediately went up, and Xiaochen followed close behind. Xiaochen collected his thoughts and carefully sized up the island. There was already an old man seated cross-legged on the island. When the old man heard the footsteps, he opened his eyes and sized up Xiaochen, who was behind Jiang Tian. Then he smiled and said, "Jiang Tian, since when did you start taking in disciples?" Jiang Tian replied indifferently, "I already swore that I would never take in a disciple in this lifetime. I will not break the rules of the Geomasters." How unfortunate. You have no children, and you do not want to take in disciples. Your bloodline is probably going to end soon, the old man said with a smile. Cut the crap. Clearly, Jiang Tian was not willing to discuss this topic. He directly said, "Let me introduce first. This is Xiaochen, the Blue Dragon King personally appointed by the Thunder King. He is the culprit behind the appearance of the 9-star evil dragon this time." Xiaochen felt that he was not in a position to speak, so he did not argue, tacitly agreeing. Following that, Jiang Tian introduced this old man. This old man was called Bai Mingfeng, a hidden geomaster. Ordinary people would not know this name. After the introductions, the two started chatting, leaving Xiaochen at the side. Xiaochen did not interrupt, listening calmly. From the contents of the two's conversation, he roughly understood what Jiang Tian wanted him to do. When the 9-star evil dragon appeared, it needed to find another dragon cave with a king's spirit vein to survive. Then, it needed to kill and swallow up the original king's spirit vein. If that were all, it would not be a big deal. What the two geomasters worried about was the mysterious phenomenon of 9 stars aligning and a rain of blood falling from the sky when the evil dragon appeared. The 9-star evil dragon had already mutated and metamorphosed again, becoming the legendary 10-star evil dragon. It would continue swallowing until it swallowed up all the king's spirit veins in the entire heavenly starry ocean. This would result in a calamity that might even threaten the 3 ancestor veins of the heavenly starry ocean, wiping out the spiritual energy of the heavenly starry ocean and turning it into a wasteland. Is it that serious? Xiaochen could not help interrupting as he listened at the side. Jiang Tian smiled coldly and said, "How do you think those desolate seas formed on the sea chart? There are precedents for this. In the end, you are the one who caused this calamity. If you cannot take out the divine grade black patterned gold and the azure underworld fruit, then just obediently help me suppress and seal this evil dragon." Bai Mingfeng frowned and asked, "What can he help us with?" "Leave that whole ghost to him to deal with. Leave the rest to us," Jiang Tian said indifferently. What the heck? Xiaochen originally thought that the other party was interested in his paradise secret cannon. He had not expected that Jiang Tian wanted him to deal with the whole ghost. Bai Mingfeng reacted and smiled. "Yes, indeed, only he can deal with that darn thing." Xiaochen said awkwardly, "Senior is joking, right?" When the whole ghost passed by, Xiaochen could not even move. How could he deal with it? Jiang Tian retorted rudely, "Back then, the Qing Emperor could kill the Ho even at his peak. You are the descendant of the Qing Emperor. Don't tell me that you cannot deal with a Ho ghost that has turned into a soul. Don't worry. Your body already endured the terrifying might and pressure once. It will be better the second time. Seeing that Xiao Chun still hesitated, Jiang Tian said coldly, "No matter what method you think of, you have to block that Ho ghost. This fellow is even more of a threat than the evil dragon." Chapter 1090. Once this is done, I'll help you get the Saint Spirit vein you want. If we fail, I'll make it clear to you that you will not be alive to collect the Holy Spirit vein hidden at the bottom of the sea. Xiao Chun smiled bitterly to himself. Now that he had boarded a pirate ship, he had no choice but to agree. Footsteps resounded, and two old men walked over to the lone island. The two old men glanced at Xiao Chun and ignored him. They said calmly, "We found the tracks of that evil dragon. We have to be fast. Otherwise, it will find the first King Spirit vein in less than 3 days. Let's go." Bai Mingfeng and Jiang Tian were swift and decisive. They immediately stood up and left, quickly following the two old men. The 4 old men rode the wind, merging with the world. Their speed was even faster than Xiao Chen's. "Xiao Chen, these people are hidden geomasters. The matter of the 10-star evil dragon should be true," Ao Jiao said from the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen nodded, agreeing with Ao Jiao's opinion. These 4 geomasters were all extraordinary, unfathomable, much more brilliant than he was. "How much do you think we can trust Jiang Tian's words?" Xiao Chen asked. Ao Jiao thought for a while and said somewhat dispiritedly, "This old man is very hateful, completely unfathomable. However, I feel that his words are somewhat trustworthy. It was better to trust him than not. After this matter was over, let's see what reasoning he can come up with." "We've arrived." The 2 old men at the front stopped and said. Xiao Chun looked around. The sea stretched as far as the eye could see. All he could see was a flat sea. The sky and the sea merged into one. He could not see the end. There was not even an island. "Stand to the side. When that Ho ghost smells it, it will definitely chase after us. Just remember not to let that ghostly thing block us." Jiang Tian directed Xiao Chun to stand far away. Then, together with Bai Mingfeng, he explained to the other 2 old men, dispelling their doubts. "Open." The 4 old men made a gesture and shouted softly. The seawater was like a curtain, slowly pulling open from the middle. Soon, the whole picture of the seabed was directly exposed to their vision. A huge scarlet dragon lay quietly at the bottom of the sea, coldly eyeing the 4 geomasters in the air. A great battle was about to break out. In the distance, Xiao Chun sighed in amazement at the means of these geomasters. With their combined strength, they were actually able to easily split apart the seawater, intending to suppress this dragon alone. 4 geomasters chanted their incantations in the vast seabed. As they waved their hands, the topography of the seabed changed rapidly. Like the work of the gods, all sorts of strangely shaped mountains rose into the air, forming different landforms and suppressing the blood dragon. After Xiao Chun figured out these people's intentions, he could not help but praise them in his heart. These 4 old geomasters were actually thinking of using manpower to create a dragon cave to bury this dragon. Gulp, gulp. The sound of bubbles resounded. Xiao Chun lowered his head to take a look, and his expression could not help but change. Trouble had arrived. "It's coming." As the bubbles churned, fog rose from the surface of the sea. Xiao Chun thought to himself as he looked into the distance. The natural enemy of dragons, the ancient mutated beast Ho. It eats dragon brains and dragon marrow. It kills dragons like crushing earthworms. Let me see what exactly it looks like. A green figure walked out of the fog. Xiao Chun could not see it clearly at all. That green figure flew past him, heading for the blood dragon at the bottom of the huge pit behind him. It was like the Ho ghost saw an incredibly delicious delicacy, luring it to charge over without a care for anything else. The 4 geomasters used their dragon-seeking arts to create a dragon vein, a tall mountain, and a long river. Tall mountains rose into the air, crisscrossing each other as they suppressed this 10-star evil dragon. The 2 sides exchanged blows, fighting intensely. When the Ho ghost appeared, the evil dragon trembled in fear. Its eyes filled with horror. However, the 4 geomasters ignored the Ho ghost, continuing to do what they were doing as if they did not see it. They even took advantage of the evil dragon's fear to raise many tall mountains, stacking them like building blocks to suppress the blood dragon. Tens of kilometers away, Xiao Chen, who was on the surface of the sea, felt very puzzled. What was going on? The Ho Ghost, which was charging at the evil dragon, suddenly turned around and stopped in midair. It stared at Xiao Chen and gave off a jade-green light. Its gaze was filled with boundless hatred. This overwhelming hatred caused it to ignore its favorite delicacy, not caring about it at all. Xiao Chen finally saw the Ho Ghost's appearance clearly. Its body was like a horse, and its entire body was jade-green. However, its 4 hooves were slender beast claws with incredibly sharp claws. Its head was like a lion's and had sharp fangs. Although it was a soul, Xiao Chen could not feel any pressure from it. This was an ethereal soul. Xiao Chen felt that something was wrong. This was especially so for the 4 Geomasters. They completely ignored the Ho Ghost behind them as if they were certain that this Ho Ghost would not harm them. Damn, I got betrayed. When Xiao Chen reacted, he could not help cursing. Then he turned around and ran. How was he relying on himself to deal with this Ho Ghost? They were simply using him as bait to attract the Ho Ghost's attention. The Qing Emperor had destroyed the physical body of the Ho Ghost. After becoming the Qing Emperor, Xiao Chen had awakened the blue dragon martial spirit. When this Ho Ghost's soul saw Xiao Chen, it was like it saw the person who killed its father. No wonder that Bai Mingfeng smiled so strangely, saying that only he could deal with the Ho Ghost. It turned out that this was what he was thinking. Fortunately, it was as Jiang Tian said. After his body experienced the initial fear, it had already adapted to this Ho Ghost of the dragon world. Otherwise, this group of old fellows would have tricked Xiao Chen to death. A strange roar came from behind Xiao Chen, and a shock wave surged over. The seawater under Xiao Chen's feet shattered and rumbled endlessly. Xiao Chen did not dare to turn his head. The shock wave brushed against his back. As he ran, the seawater behind him shattered and chased him closely. Bang! The sound wave caught up to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's body was blasted into the air, and he vomited a large mouthful of blood. There was no time to complain. Xiao Chen spread the freedom wings and soared into the air, not daring to fight this Ho Ghost at all. Just one roar could injure him. If Xiao Chen still believed Jiang Tian's nonsense, he would really be an idiot. He said that the Qing Emperor could kill the Ho at its peak. As the descendant of the Qing Emperor, how could Xiao Chen not be able to deal with this soul? What a joke! What could Xiao Chen deal with? They were not even on the same level. This Ho Ghost had lived for tens of thousands of years and devoured countless spirit veins. Even if it was not at its peak, it had at least 1% of its strength. It was definitely not something that Xiao Chen could deal with now. Facing the pursuing Ho Ghost, Xiao Chen had no other choice but to run as far as possible. As he ran, Xiao Chen noticed a strange phenomenon. Several times, when the Ho Ghost was clearly about to catch up, he could already hear its heavy breathing. However, it suddenly stopped. Its eyes showed a conflicted expression, like it was resisting some order. While fleeing, Xiao Chen could not be bothered to think too much. As he faced that layered roar, his heart felt like it would leap out at any moment. Xiao Chen's internal organs trembled, and cracks appeared in them. The sound waves inflicted direct internal injuries. At this rate, even if the Ho Ghost could not catch up to him, it could still use the sound waves to kill him. Use the reincarnation lamp. Ao Jiao quickly reminded from the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen suddenly startled awake. No matter how strong you are still a ghost without a physical body. The reincarnation lamp is specialized in dealing with evil spirits. It should have a restraining effect. Xiao Chen flipped his palm, and the reincarnation lamp soared into the air. Then, he vomited a mouthful of essence blood and lit the lamp wick. The image of an immortal appeared in the hazy flame and started chanting the Taoist scriptures, dealing with the horrifying sound waves of the Ho Ghost. It seemed to have some effect. The deafening roars disappeared. Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief and swallowed a medicinal pill to treat his internal injuries. Xiao Chen did not look back, leaving the reincarnation lamp hanging in the air as he continued running. As Xiao Chen ran for his life, he did not know how far he had run. Eventually, he felt incredibly tired, so he stopped in front of the sea and panted continuously. Before Xiao Chun could catch his breath, he vomited a mouthful of blood. His mind was severely injured. The reincarnation lamp that helped him block the Ho ghost in the distance actually shattered. Just at this moment, the 4 geomasters appeared at the same time, all of them significantly injured. Jiang Tian pulled Xiao Chun up and said, "Let's go." The 4 geomasters executed their arts at the same time. The world changed, and the seawater became like a huge mouth, swallowing up the 5 at the same time. Then, it became as smooth as a mirror, becoming whole again. When the Ho ghost, which had rushed over, saw Xiao Chun vanishing without a trace, it roared in anger. The seawater shattered like a mirror, giving off loud bangs. Boom! When the 5 reappeared, they were already 500 kilometers away, on a desolate island that no one could find. They were now completely safe. Jiang Tian put down Xiao Chun and revealed a rare smile. He said, "You did pretty well. You successfully escaped and helped us suppress the evil dragon. You truly live up to your name as the Blue Dragon King, the descendant of the Qing Emperor, the Prime Thunder King." However, Jiang Tian's pale complexion made this smile look extremely unsightly. The other 3 were also very weak. Bai Mingfeng rushed to say, "Jiang Tian, we already helped you settle the trouble you caused. You just have to explain the rest to this little fellow." After saying that, Bai Mingfeng left. The other 2 old men also left after saying some simple words. Jiang Tian tossed a piece of vellum to Xiao Chun and said indifferently, "You should go as well. The answers you want are in there." Xiao Chun caught the vellum but did not look at it. Instead, he looked coldly at Jiang Tian, a murderous intent flashing in his eyes. "What, you want to make a move on me? Ha! I advise you not to have such thoughts. Otherwise, you will die very miserably." "Oh, I was wrong. You won't die. On account of the Thunder King, no major character would dare to kill you." Jiang Tian did not fear Xiao Chun's gaze at all. He said calmly, "You should take a look at the vellum first." Xiao Chun opened the vellum with some bewilderment in his eyes. There was a complete map of the sea on the vellum. When Xiao Chun looked carefully, all the dragon caves with Holy Spirit veins were marked on it. However, they were all drawn in bright red, looking very ghastly. Jiang Tian said unhurriedly, "Now you understand why I told you to search for Holy Spirit veins all over the world. You will not survive more than a year, right?" You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.